Right.
Okay, and now we've talked about the news. We're going to go ahead and go right to feedback. Hope you enjoyed the news.
Best part of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing the
Part of
coffee
show.
fund again?
Oh, the coffee fund. That was very stimulating, though, the discussion that we had.
It was. I really enjoyed it. I hope no one missed it.
I hope not.
It'd be a shame.
Well, if they did,
sad situation.
They should have been paying attention to all the tweets and stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay, let's see. Let me go here to this page. And then go to this page. Hi, y'all. I can't see what you're saying yet because I don't have the chat room pulled up yet.
They're saying that they hope I get well soon with my sore throat. So thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, and Glenn, this is actually not a coffee because I don't drink coffee. It's a chai tea latte. But I wanted something kind of, I don't know, to help my throat. This probably doesn't help, but.
Thank you, Ray, for asking. And yes, I'm doing just fine. Hello, Mr. Neville, you devil. APG headquarters again. Yes, you're right, Liz, because I'm on vacation again.
Must be nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like they give you a certain amount and you got to put it somewhere, I guess. That's what she said.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yes.
Get something. And if you're wondering,
okay.
I am not prepared at all. So there we go.
But we're right on time.
Yeah.
See?
Right on APG time. Be right
exactly. All right. So Jeff is stepping away for a moment and Nick is not here yet. So it's just me. And yes, Ken Hayes, thank you for the comment on the shirt. Thought I'd throw a little love to Marcus Volter and his excellent podcast, the Omega Tau podcast today. It's nice to have a variety of t-shirts to choose from. Hot toddies. I don't really care for hot toddies, but it's a good idea, Matthew. Is it the same as United Airlines time? I think we're probably better than that. I don't know. I never fly on United Airlines.
You're on Omega Tau again today?
Huh?
You said you were on the Omega Tau podcast again?
No. I'm just wearing his t-shirt.
Oh, does he know?
Probably not.
Oh. Does he know you took it?
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
I should rephrase. I'm wearing an Omega Tau t-shirt, not necessarily Marcus's personal Omega Tau t-shirt.
I misunderstood. Sorry.
I stole it from him at Farnborough. It was odd at the time because he was actually wearing it.
Running around without a shirt on. Now I know the story.
Now you know why.
Okay, got it. Thank you. How do I make this bigger? That's what she said. I know on a Mac how to do it. How do I do it in this stupid Windows machine? Control plus?
Windows machine? Why are you using a Windows machine?
Well, it's my Surface 3, and I have it here for showing the chat room. And also for the Flight Deck Pro app. I might have to refer to that.
I might know why if I'd actually looked at the feedback or the news.
I like hot toddies. Oh, you're talking about the drink. Okay. Sorry.
I don't really like hot toddies.
No, why not?
I don't know.
You ever had a nice hot buttered rum? Great.
No.
Cold winter's day. Hey, speaking of that, are you forecast to get any snow this weekend?
Yeah, so of course everyone's freaking out. They're talking about like an inch of snow on Saturday morning.
Yeah,
I mean,
freaking out.
that's still like 4 days away and it's a weekend day, so who cares?
Yeah.
For
Just
most
stay
people.
inside.
Yeah.
Well.
I mean, some people are going to have to go out on it, but it's not really. It's an inch of snow. Good grief.
I know.
So yeah, that was the water cooler talk at work today.
Okay. You got to have something to talk
You ready for the snow? Are you all prepared for the snow? What if it snows?
What
and
else
what
are you
if
going to
there's
talk
ice?
about? You got to make up something else to talk about that nobody really cares about.
I mean, we just had like holidays and the New Year, and people were off of work yesterday. There had to be something else to talk about. No, we're going to talk about the snow that's forecast for 4 days from now that may not even happen.
Wow, I guess I kind of hit a nerve there. Sorry.
No, it's
I'm sorry. I mentioned the snow thing.
I didn't mean to go off on a get on my soapbox about that.
Well,
I just think I think it's funny more than anything else.
Let's see. Write this down. Don't ask Steph about snow or weather or work.
Or work.
There we go.
Yes. I'd like to see a little bit of snow. I mean, it's not really winter until it snows. It was like 60 degrees today.
Yeah,
it was really foggy all day too.
So everybody it's kind of been that way here in Atlanta too. Everybody here in the chat room, microphone voice levels, are we about the same? Go ahead and say some more stuff, Steph. Tell us about your hey, did you hear it's going to snow maybe over the weekend?
Don't even get me started on the snow for this weekend. Did I tell you? I told you once, I told you 100 times.
I'm sorry.
There's not going to be any bread or milk left on the shelf in the supermarkets. It's going to be people panicking, and then going to wake up Saturday morning and it won't have done anything. And the panic will have been for nothing.
Audio levels are good. Thank you, Ken Hayes.
Good.
Thank you, Michael Kuipers, Liz Pipers, Sandy, Matthew. Is it now? Am I saying your last name right? Do I say Bunting Frame or Bunting From?
Looks like Bunting Frame.
I know, but you know the English. You look at something, I look at it, and I'm thinking this is the way you're supposed to pronounce it, and apparently, that's not the way to pronounce
it. But there doesn't look like there's anything tricky about his name in particular.
Well, never mind then. I'd still like to hear him say it.
Former, hey, Larry, not latter.
Larry, I hope you hang in there. We're going to talk about Larry Zola.
Oh?
Yeah, the boss man from Boston, Larry BOS.
Well, apparently Nick is having all
not
kinds
BS. That would be me, Jeff BS, not BOS. Yeah,
well, I finally hung up all my speaking of degrees and whatnot. I hung up all my diplomas. You see that?
Nice.
I know.
So you're really a bona fide medical person.
Yeah, I actually have degrees to back up my job.
Now, don't ask me for any of my degrees.
Although I don't have a bachelor's of science degree. I have a bachelor's of arts degree.
Oh.
In biology.
Medical, really? That's odd.
Yeah, I know.
How did that work?
I don't like math. So I was able to do a bachelor of arts degree and take less math.
Okay.
So instead of statistics, I took like an extra English class.
So you can do that.
Yeah, apparently. They let me do it.
As Steph said, looks like Nick is having, I said, okay, not sure what's going on. He's trying to sync up his Evernote. Is anybody there? He moved rooms as previous internet poor. This room is awful. Now he's on the phone to tech support. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes.
See what happens.
That would be the first time that we've ever had any technical troubles at all in this show.
It never happens.
No.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't know. Well, that'll give me time to actually do a little bit more show prep.
There you go.
Like coffee fun. How about? We should probably do that.
Yeah.
Like get ready to do that. Which I'm not. So let me just play this. You can hear the music, right?
I can.
Thank you. Everybody sing along. I love coffee. I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. coffee and tea, and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. I'm looking for PayPal page. I love PayPal. Sweet and hot.
I'm not sure that that's their motto.
No?
I think that's something else.
A cup of coffee, fun, money. Oh, this is where I say something. I'll cut a rug that's snug in a jug of onion and a straw. What? No, wrong one. Later. No, waiter.
I'm surprised you don't know all these words.
I know. Now you're actually seeing what my family always says about me. I'm really terrible with lyrics. I really am. I know a few. Like I know I love coffee. I love tea. I love the Java Jive, and it loves me.
Uh-huh. So you know,
That's
like the main course.
Yeah. I can get the choruses. I just don't know the verses. How does one get a rug into a jug? I think it's some kind of a reference to sex, according to what I was reading.
Really?
Yep.
So scandalous.
It is. Come on, Steph. This is your turn.
Sing? No, I'm not singing tonight. I'm giving my voice a break because it's barely going to make it through the show as it is. Yep.
There's Steph. I recorded her earlier.
It's definitely my singing voice. I can hit that high note all the time.
Wrong one. Oops. No, 253 times is not enough for me to learn a song. Thank you very much, Mark Alexandre Paquette. Pretentious sounding name you have. Oh, that's probably insensitive as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh well.
He's just left the chat room.
Who did?
Never listening again.
Oh, okay.
Mark
Sorry.
Alexandre Paquette.
Sorry about that. Oh well. Hopefully he'll come back. Where do I start? I think we talked about. Okay, we're gonna do. I'm just talking to myself because that's the only conversation that I can have and be something that I understand.
Okay. I'll just stand by for moral support then.
Stand by for support. Stand by for news. Okay.
I mean, I'd help, but there's not a whole lot I can do on this end. I tried.
That's what she said.
Nick is slowly losing his mind, I think.
Is he? Okay.
Well, he's losing his hair because he's tearing it out, apparently.
Uh-oh. Just don't tear out the beard hair.
No, that's
because you can always wear a hat. $1 in pledges. Oh, lost one. Oh, sorry to see you go, Max.
Who? What?
I don't know. Somebody named Max is no longer a patron.
Oh. That's so sad.
Oh well, we'll live. We'll survive.
I think we'll make it.
It fluctuates, you know. That's all right. Arrgh, tearing your hair out. Oh, by the way, this is news to everyone, including Steph, because we were about to talk about this, but this is going to be a two-parter.
Oh.
We'll do probably 2/3 of it today, and then the last third on Thursday with Rick, and if you're available, 5 o'clock-ish on Thursday.
Oh yeah, I'll be around.
Will you? Okay, good.
Too early. No, I'm done at noon on Friday.
Oh,
good. Thursday.
Good. Because I'd like to do it a little bit earlier than that because I'm going with my son to a free movie screening, and that starts at 7. I'm not sure when we have to leave, but.
Oh, nice. What movie?
I have no idea. I forgot. Oh. I mean, he told me what it was, but
because he's the big movie.
Sound like really anything that I'd want to go see. But
it's free, and you can go with your son. So
exactly. There you go.
There's 2 very good reasons, not just the movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
But yeah,
but it's
Thursday,
some quality time.
I'll be done anytime after. I mean, I'll definitely be home by 2.
Okay. Sweet.
2 is a safe time. 1 o'clock.
Excellent. So we'll see if if we can get Rick on any earlier than that, that's great. If not, then we'll just start right at 5, and I can probably go for an hour and still be good to go.
Sounds good.
For the movie.
I will be around.
Okay, so I have PayPal and Patreon patrons set up. Basically, they're not in the show notes, but they're on another page.
That's fine.
That'll work. And so, how would you pronounce? You see that in the show notes, Eric?
Apple.
Apple.
Okay. Is it an L?
I guess.
It's an E with an accent.
Yeah.
See, and I would actually, Eric. I'd put the accent on the I, Eric.
Eric. I know, but there's not a thing on it.
I'd just say Eric Apple, and then if it's really butchered, hopefully they'll let us know.
Oh, I need to get the Plaintails thing in there.
Nev says Nick is probably having trouble with his new muff. Jeez, Neville.
Yeah, let's don't talk about his new muff, okay?
Probably best.
And I have a lot of stuff in that folder for the show, so I don't have any pretense of or expectation of us getting through all of it. But
well, no, and especially if we're doing a part 2, hopefully on Thursday, then we'll just go until we want to stop.
All right, good. Why don't we just stop now?
Okay. See you guys Thursday.
Okay. It's great hanging out with you.
Yes.
Let's see here.
Ooh.
Oh, I got to do my little script. So what do we have to talk about here? Drunk pilots.
Yes, seems to be a theme.
Again. The holidays.
Come on, guys.
Must be time for drunk pilots. That's right. Yay. Did you see the video of the one,
I have not had a chance to watch it yet. I have not had a chance to watch it.
Oh, you got to watch that.
But it sounds, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna play it on the show, but I'll put that in the show notes. But you really, you have a moment here if you want to watch it. That guy is going through security, and I don't know how they let him go to the airplane. I mean, he's like dropping.
Well, yeah, past security.
Yeah.
Do you have it in the? You have it in the.
I think it's the second one. At the very bottom of that impaired pilot charge.
Okay.
There's things that say view on YouTube. See if that works. That should work.
Got it.
And then the second one is a passenger cell phone video, and the guy's already in the cockpit, and they're like trying to get out.
All right, I'm watching this now. This is the first one. Let's see. This is very exciting for everyone in the chat room to watch.
Yeah, well, just use your imagination.
All right, so here he goes. He's putting his bag on the on the X-ray scanner, and then kind of stumbling over to the metal detector.
And just being all nonchalant.
Patting him down, and he kind of nods a little bit. He can barely stand upright at the side of the scanner to collect his bags, and they're all falling apart and stuff's falling out of his bag. And he just waits for them to pick it up for him. Like, I seem to have dropped my stuff. Thank you. And then he drops his hat or something.
It's like this bag that has all his stuff in it. It's just like all over the place.
I know.
And every time he tries to put the stuff back, then something else
falls out. Yeah.
It's not really funny. But it's funny.
I mean,
but it's
funny to watch, but it's not funny at all. Like
But I can't believe they let him.
I know. I can't believe those guys didn't stop him. Oh, poor Nick. Still having trouble.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Let's see.
Okay, and this is the next one. Oh no, that's not the next one. Let's see if I can get this one up. Oh, this one's really loud. Is he arguing that they're taking him out of the cockpit?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pissed. I don't know what he's saying because I don't speak the language.
Yeah.
But it sounds to me like he's protesting.
Yes. Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
Yeah. I was trying to find the, there were some tweets about this accident investigation for the Russian plane crash. I meant to get those, but I don't see them anymore.
Tweets about what? Sorry.
Oh, about something about the flaps and some leaks, I guess, in the investigation of the Tupolev
Oh, yeah.
154. You let me know. I don't think Blab's still around. It's different. I think there's still something called Blab, but it's not anything like what it was. What we were using. What
they relaunch
we
it?
were using for. No, they just kept it going, but they kind of changed the whole model.
Nick says, "I hope you started without me."
Nope.
Nope.
Well, shoot. I can't find the darn tweets. Son of a gun. I retweeted them too. Maybe I can find them that way.
Yeah, it might be on your page then.
Hey. Okay. This is just fascinating, isn't it, everybody?
You guys can continue to entertain yourselves over there. We'll be with you when we get to you.
Yeah.
I'd say shortly, but I don't really know how long it's going to be.
Nick is still waiting for engineering on the telephone to call him back.
I don't understand how internet can be that complicated at a hotel.
I don't know either. What? It must be a different hotel, or is he staying at that? What does he call it?
No, that's in New
he's
York.
at IAD.
He's in.
Yeah, that's been working okay, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he's at a different hotel. They kind of seem to change hotels a lot more than we do. We have kind of like one hotel and we stay there for like a year before we change. Okay, my tweets. Did you like my workout picture?
Yeah. I was gonna say, you don't need me to encourage you. You're off to a great start.
Thank you.
Doing better than me.
Yeah, look. I mean, in just a very short time, I'm already developing some nice biceps.
I know.
And don't worry about that digital watermark in the picture.
Yeah, don't worry about that at all.
No.
Don't worry about the fact that your head is super small compared to the rest of your body. I hear that steroids can do that to you, though.
Now, funny story. Because as soon as I tweeted this, and then one of these big companies called me up and said, "Can we use your picture as a stock photo?" And I said, "Sure." Okay. So then they put that watermark on it. Right?
That's how that works.
Here, I found it. Okay. The first one I have here, let's see. Russian Tu-154 crashed in the Black Sea after failing to gather enough speed to climb, losing wing lift because of flaps malfunction. And that's an IFAC source. And then the second one is, "The flaps, bitch." Captain, we're falling.
I saw that. That's right.
Oops, I shouldn't have said that, sorry. "The flaps, biatch." Captain, we're falling. Reported last words of crew recorded on Russian Tu-154 black box. Not the last words that I want to have reported on the flight record.
No. So, just keep it PC all the time.
Yeah.
Keep it,
I don't really know what else to say.
Oh, he apparently also has no beer. That's just tragic.
Oh, well, that's more important than not having internet.
It is.
Okay, so. Oh, and then somebody had an interesting question about that. I think, is that in the 253 folder or is that something else?
Let's find out.
What is this? I'm not even sure what this is. that I put in the folder.
You just did this today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here, let's listen.
The old pilots.
Oh, time test. No wonder I didn't recognize it. I just put it in there.
That's like the
thing.
last thing you put in there.
I know, but see, I looked at that weird way that he does dates and time, and I thought that was like some Bible verse.
12/29/16.
And it's the book of the Bible that you don't really hear that much about. Little things.
That's right. It's right next to
big things.
Big things.
And then not so big things, and then of course little things. It's a three volume set of books.
Yes. Was it audio feedback from Glenn?
Here it is, Glenn. Maybe that's it. Here, let's see what Glenn had to ask about.
G'day, Captain Jeff, Steph, and Captain Nick. It's Glenn here from News on behalf of the AB. Allegedly, it's called. It's apparently faulty flaps. They're saying, and allegedly.
Yeah. Okay, he was the one that was talking about the flaps.
That was very choppy when I was listening to it.
Yeah, I was
like
I was jumping all around.
Oh, okay.
That was
it's like that didn't make a whole lot of sense.
No. You didn't understand Glenn?
No.
You got to understand his.
It's his accent.
Yeah.
Got it.
I mean, I got it. No, I was just jumping around trying to see if that was what I was thinking about. Okay, we have something from the mailbag, the real mailbag.
Ooh, that's very exciting.
I have not even opened it. I just went to the post office like an hour and a half ago. So it's going to be fun. Larry, I hope you didn't put anything risque in there or something.
It's lingerie.
If you did, warn me right now so I don't open it up on camera. Okay. How we doing, Nick? How we doing?
Last message said,
no
still
beer,
waiting
no
for
ideas,
a call.
still waiting for a call.
Doesn't sound...
well, he has... Oh, okay. So apparently he's doing this on his phone.
He is?
I mean, the messaging.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What's he doing on Thursday? He's not around on Thursday? Just in case he can't ever make it
I think he flies back tomorrow. So I think he's home on Thursday.
Oh.
But he's probably going to be wiped out. Yeah. Okay. Well. Do you think we
wait a
can
little bit
go?
longer?
Okay. Let me see.
I don't know. Give him a few more minutes.
Let me look.
Yes. Listen, by the time we actually start, this should be so seamless, flawless.
Oh, it's going to be
well rehearsed. I mean, you're just going to be so amazed.
I just want to throw this out there that any of you people out there that are professional podcasters or think you are, you should watch what we're about to lay on you. It's going to be.
We're going to blow your
water
minds.
your eyes.
Yeah, that too. Like an onion.
Yeah.
Hey, did you get my Christmas card? No?
I don't think so.
Oh.
When did you send it?
Like 3 weeks ago. I'll resend it.
Okay.
I've got extras.
Was it an email?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, if I need to, I guess I can look in the Christmas card stack.
Oh.
Because I think Linda puts all them in and she expects me to look at them. Yeah, well, I haven't looked at any of them actually. Did you get mine?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't send one.
I didn't think so. It's okay. But I found great Christmas cards, so I hope you got it because it's...
Okay, I'll have to ask about it. Or I'll try to find the pile of cards.
I mean, you'll know it when you come across it. Hopefully have to read. Yeah.
I look forward to it.
Oh, good. If it's not there, let me know because I'll just send another.
Did you get my very expensive and heartfelt gift for Christmas?
Yes.
Thank you. Glad you liked it.
I enjoyed it.
I didn't send her anything. Yeah. Did you send me anything?
It's okay. I only cried a little bit.
Did you send me something?
Just a card.
Okay, good. It's like one of those awkward moments.
sent-
Like, oh, should we send each other Christmas gifts? Do we really want to start that?
No, cards. I mean, and I only
Let's
sent a
not do
card
that.
because the card was so perfect. I sent one to Nick too, but who knows if he ever got it or not yet.
Was there money in it or something?
No.
Ah,
You think I am a rich doctor?
who cares? Yeah. You're not? Oh, damn.
Not yet. Someday when I grow up, I might be a rich doctor.
Okay.
I mean, I've only been doing this for 8 years.
That's not long.
I've only really been
Doctor?
in a real job for 4 years.
Doctor?
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 Oh, hi, Mick McCarthy. The first time you made it to a live stream. We haven't started anything yet, but welcome.
Yeah, isn't this exciting?
You're going to be so glad that you are missing work for this.
Ah,
Actually, I would skip work for this or tune in during work if I wasn't super busy.
is Liz having trouble with the sound or something? The audio?
I don't know.
Did I get Micah's card? No. A birthday card. Yeah, I did. I think. Pretty sure, yeah.
Yay!
What?
I see Nick.
Oh. We
I
don't hear you.
anything.
Plug ye old microphone into ye old USB slot. I'm trying to speak English so he'd understand me.
Yes. We'll know in a minute if it was intelligible or not. He'll
Still don't hear you. Still don't hear you. Got the switch on? Oh. No.
Oh,
No.
all right. Well, he's here. I'm encouraged. I'm going to go take a physiologic break
Okay.
and be
Wish
right
I had
back.
something to eat. I'm hungry.
And I ate all the cheese I was working on beforehand. Oh, well. I'll send you some cheese through the.
Okay, here we go. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Cheesy.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Nick's on a 9600 baud modem, huh? Yeah. Yeah. This is the way this year is going to go. This is a foretaste of the things to come for 2017 at the APG. Maybe this is a sign from God that he wants me to shut this thing down. Could be. So many other great podcasts out there. You don't need this one. Oh, and I continue to hear people pronounce
Potable.
the incorrect way, saying potable. Oh, I've given up.
Potable.
Potable.
I do see you, sir, but I do not hear you. Oh, I hear something. Oh, maybe that's stuff coming back. Yep, that's stuff. Now, is Nick? I think that's just frozen, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, unless he's permanently making that face, which I guess
Could
if he
be.
was
That's the way I
frustrated
think.
enough at this point. Don't stop the podcast. We're stopping the podcast?
Who said that?
I don't know. Jennifer?
Oh, yeah, that's one of my announcements.
Oh, okay. Well, it's been fun.
Oh, yeah. I
My
said,
resolution for 2017 is to
yeah,
end
that's
this
my
thing
New Year's resolution. This is it. Forget it.
all over.
I said there are a lot of great podcasts out there that you don't need this one. I mean, really, come on.
Yes.
And you guys are all on the other ones anyway, so just me.
Yeah.
So
It's really just redundant at this point.
it is. Very much so. We all talk about the same news.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can
Yes.
hear you now.
My God, I don't bloody believe this. I'm probably going to be interrupted into this by some engineer Now, I suspect my bandwidth is appalling.
It is.
Yes.
I think I
Hello?
recommend that you turn off your video.
Yeah, I just have.
Hello. Talk now.
Hello, 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 hello.
Okay. We heard all that. Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Good.
I suspect my bandwidth is appalling.
Yes.
At the moment, everyone's trying time, so been having a few internet problems. Marvelous.
Is it the place you were last time?
Yeah, but they wanted to put us out in the annex because they've got a huge conference in the hotel, and I know the internet out there is appalling. So I said, no, find me a room in the main hotel, and I'm at the end of some very long corridor.
Is
Probably,
it a convention of like tech people?
yeah, they're all on the internet right now.
Speed.
Are they like? Is this a Microsoft convention or something?
And with I don't know, but no, I'm having they getting nodules and things and nodes, but at least I can speak to you now. Is this good enough to broadcast with?
I heard something about nodules and nodes, and it's about.
We're catching like every third word.
Ah, shit.
Oh, we got that one.
Loud and clear.
Ah, okay.
Of course,
right.
we'd get that one.
But if I just keep swearing, that'll be fine. Then you'll catch
Yes,
everything.
we'll get every single word that way, guaranteed.
Do you want to press on regardless?
Well, I guess we could do that. So here's the deal. I was telling Steph and the folks in the great folks in the chat room. By the way, Tom S. says he has great Wi-Fi here at his house, and he must be in the DC area.
Well, tell him to quickly pop round in his car and pick me up.
He said, "Come around to let him know where you are, and he'll come and pick you up."
Yeah.
Anyway, I'd asked Rick if he could be with us today, and he is running errands, is going to leave early in the morning, but he said that he's going to have some time on Thursday afternoon, our time, early afternoon, his time. And so I thought that we could do like a two-parter. I don't recall exactly what you said about Thursday, but that you were going to be getting home that day, right?
Yeah, I get home Thursday. So I'm trying to think what time we land on Thursday. I think it's fairly early in the morning. So the trouble is I'm usually pretty pooped by about the normal time, about like 5 hours before we normally start. I'll be in bed.
Okay.
I don't know if Thursday is going to be good for me.
Okay. Well, I figured that, if we had you on today, which that's a big question mark, but we could do that, and then the Boeing representative could be on Thursday.
Yeah, that's great. And at least I can do this show naked now, so that's rather nice.
Yeah, just don't accidentally turn the camera on, please. Or
I'll try not to.
Please accidentally turn the camera on.
So much editing already for this show, I'm sure.
I can't edit the video. So.
Is the audio good enough for the show? Is it going to work?
Yeah, it's not 100% for sure. It's a good strong, maybe 60-70%.
I think we give it a try.
Let's give it a shot. What the heck?
Well, I'll steer clear of the chat room, and hopefully it'll just kind of hang in there.
Okay.
I'm really because I've paid high speed, and this is effing useless.
Yeah, you better.
Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. High speed internet, my arse.
Exactly right. Yep.
Okay. That's the thing. They say they equate high speed internet with just wireless. That's the same thing in their minds. But the high speed part usually
it's actually specifying 6. It does specify 6 megs, which would be fine if I was getting 6 megs, but I'm not.
6 megs to be shared with 250 people.
That's right.
So you each get about 0.003. And you should be happy with that. Okay. Let me.
Actually, just going to do a speed test out of
Okay.
interest here. I can't even load the speed test page on the.
That's not a good sign.
No, it's not. It's not even going to load a website.
That's not a good sign.
No.
No. Okay. So I'm all yours.
Okay. Turning on the
Well,
recorder.
hand to the Hangout page.
Huh?
Oh, okay. I seem to have lost the Hangout page somewhere.
It's there
Where's
somewhere.
that?
Yeah, it's there. We can still hear you. So
Good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mess with it
Good,
too
good,
much.
good.
I don't want it to disappear completely. Like, don't.
Yeah. Yeah. What else are we going to talk about?
You're still not ready?
No,
No,
I'm like
I'm-
just distracted by all this stuff. Okay. Well, nobody writes my stuff for me. I have to write on my own scripts and everything.
Who's the producer around here?
I don't know. I need a producer.
Oh, yeah. Start. Yeah, you do. Two, in fact.
Mhm.
A heartwarming story. involving-
Oh, God. I didn't even have time to get beer.
Oh, that's really bad.
Oh,
Well, I think that's three of us that aren't drinking beer then. Right?
God, how sad. This is going to be the worst show ever.
I'm drinking beer.
Oh, just kidding. Jeff is drinking beer
Please,
without us
sober.
Why aren't you
Oh, is
drinking
he?
beer, Steph?
because I need to work out after this.
Okay.
I need something really strong.
All right. Let's do this.
Okay. Recording.
Recording. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 253.
Flight 209, are you clear for takeoff? Roger. LA, good morning. 123.9. Roger. Less than
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. I'm Captain Jeff, your host, broadcasting live from Studio 1A in the APG headquarters building in a northern Atlanta suburb, Roswell to be exact. And in this episode, we have drunk pilots. Yes, it's the holidays. We have our drunk pilots. Russian Tupolev Tu-154 crash update. A hijacking that we kind of didn't talk about last time. And a very heartwarming story involving an airline crew and their passengers. That and more. More news, your feedback, and a new Plain Tales episode, Little Things. Get all settled in. Tray tables and seatbacks in their upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. Flight 253 is ready for pushback. Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. It's the first APG, the Airline Pilot Guy show of the new year. It's the 3rd of January as we speak. The show will be out on the 6th, we hope. And it's going to be a two-parter. That's what we're planning anyway. We're Captain Nick and Dr. Steph and I are here today, and we're hoping to connect with everyone or as many as we can get, including Miami Rick on Thursday afternoon. So we'll keep you abreast of that as we move along. But I'm home. I'm on vacation from the 1st through the 7th of January, and go back out on Sunday, the 8th. And I fly a 3-day and a 3-day. So next week I'll be somewhere recording this, I hope. Anyway, so there you have it. Not a lot going on with me. We just went through the holidays, and now we are in the new year and just doing a bang up job already. So also with me today, we have a doctor,
Doctor? Doctor? Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
Doctor?
commercial
Doctor?
multi-engine instrument rated pilot, Dr. Steph.
Well, hello, and Happy New Year to you, Captain Jeff, and also to Captain Nick, and to everyone who's joined us today live and everyone listening to this. Hope everyone's had a great New Year so far. 3 days in. So far, I haven't broken any of my resolutions yet. So off to a good start.
Good to hear.
Yes. I'm not on vacation. I'm just here at home as well because I have to work all this week. Well, the rest of the week. Today was my Monday. So we were off yesterday for the New Year holiday, which was kind of nice. So a short week this week and then a short week next week. And then I'm actually on vacation. So I don't know where I'll be.
You're at work this week, but doesn't it feel like you're on vacation?
A little bit. And it's nice for us because we're so busy like October through December. And I've talked about this before, but everyone in the U.S. meets their deductibles and then they come for all their specialty care visits. And I'm a specialty provider here in the U.S. So all of a sudden we get really busy. And I'll tell you what, for the past 2 weeks, not a single day went by where at least half of the people I saw didn't ask if they could get all of their stuff done before the first of the year. And I was like, well, we've got like 2 days left. So no, not going to happen. But today was lovely. And I had a whole bunch of people cancel and no show because all of a sudden people realize their deductibles reset and it's going to cost them a lot of money to come see me, which I have nothing to do with. Doesn't make any difference in what I get paid, but
makes you wonder, if they felt like they were feeling poorly enough to have made an appointment that all of a sudden now, because it's not going to be paid for by their insurance.
Generally we're not talking about that much difference in what you have to pay out of pocket, but yes, it's they're gonna have to pay it somewhere, whether it's to their primary care doctor or some other reason, but they'll be back.
So what you're saying about your particular practice's specialty is your specialty.
My specialty? So I am a physiatrist.
No,
is that what your question was?
Because you said,
I'm sorry.
Being that you're in specialty medicine, and so I said, so specialty is your specialty. No,
Correct.
It wasn't worth it. And
I'm
also
sorry.
joining us,
Totally missed that.
from.
You need to go back to joke school, Jeff.
What I need to do is I need to start this whole show over is what I should do, but I'm not going to because we're already starting late. You heard his lovely voice. We have Captain Nick, a professional airline captain working for a European carrier who happens to be on this side of the pond today. Captain Nick Anderson. Hello, sir.
Hi there, Jeff. And hi, Steph. And my apologies, first of all, to everyone for the late start. And also for my audio quality. I suspect it's going to be pretty awful, this show. Because for some reason, the internet in this hotel, which was fine the last time I broadcast from here a couple of weeks ago, today is just awful. I don't know how. Is it going through all right now?
Yeah, it's doing really well. Just a little tiny little hiccup here and there, but we can understand almost everything. So
well, there you go. Today's been a bit of a trial. The flight went fine. Everything was good. I even met the Stonebridge marching band, Stonebridge High School marching band. They're a brilliant bunch of people. They were on our aircraft. In a London New Year Days parade, about 120 of them, and they're the Marching Bulldogs, and they were flying back home, and they were great fun. And I met the father of one of the young ladies who was a saxophonist, and she played the alto sax. And would you believe it? Her father is a ex-Marine F-18 pilot. So we had a good old jaw and a lot of backslapping and yahooing about old times in the F-18. So that was great.
Can you do me a favor, though, and just one more time? Someone who plays a saxophone is called a what?
Saxophonist, is that right?
Sure. I think you put the emphasis on level than we would, but
I wouldn't be talking about saxophony with the father of this girl if I were you.
Well, now how would you say it then, you strange American people?
We say it, I'm sure, the improper way. We say saxophonist.
Yeah, that would be wrong.
Or they play saxophone. How about that?
Yeah, you play a saxophone, so you're a saxophonist.
A saxophone player. Yeah. There you go.
A saxophonist. That sounds like someone on the damn telephone. Making dubious calls to someone.
Sounds like some kind of diagnosis from a psychiatrist or something. I don't know. Or some kind of a sex worker. I don't know.
Just have to, I'm quite happy to be corrected by an Englishman here.
No, I think you're probably correct. I've never heard anybody pronounce it that way. But I love it. I love it. I love you. And I'm glad that you're here with us. and I'm sad that you don't have a beer in your hand. But
Well, yeah, and I came rushing up to. I changed rooms to try and make sure I was in an area of the hotel where there's good Wi-Fi. I came rushing up to my room and was all prepared to go straight online. I couldn't even connect, so I was on the phone to the engineers, and it's just been a bit of a nightmare. So I didn't have a beer. I'm sitting here still in uniform, all sweaty and sticky, and that's my focus. There you go. Back on the show. I'm really looking forward to it.
so I'm gathering that you're just happy to be here, based on
Very.
what you said. Couldn't really understand.
Very
any of it.
happy to be
Okay.
here with my half full bottle of water that I pinched off the airplane.
Hey, well, we have messages on this show, right? Feedback and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But we also have snail mail, post,
Ooh.
I guess is what it's referred to in some parts of the world. And I went to the APG box, PO box, and I picked up this package, and it says from Larry BOS. So we're going to call him the boss man from Boston. And he sent me an email saying that he had sent a package to us. And so now on live TV, well, it's not TV, but
On live internet.
live internet. Oh man. Whoa. What is this?
That was about the best
A
reaction
lot of.
we could have
lot
hoped
of-
for.
Can you see all the dust particles?
Not really.
Okay. It's this insulated bag is it's got
Coming
all
apart.
kinds of what I think
Asbestos.
this bag, Larry, is this bag from like 1950?
Is it all the paper packaging is all burst
Yeah,
out?
it's all oh
Yuck.
Yeah, it's like the packaging has insulation inside of it, and as he tore it open, it just kind of
Oh.
went. Oof.
it's all over me. Thank you. Okay. All right, here we go. Let's see. Oh, I think there's a note in here. Okay. Jeff, it is your task to figure out which book goes to you, Steph, Nick, Rick, or Dana. Cheers, Larry. Okay. This should be fun.
Cool.
Okay. So let me put the books out here on the desk.
So there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to decide.
I'm just going to take whichever one looks the best, and that's going to be mine.
Excellent.
Oh, I'm getting some clues here, I think.
You can give me the old one.
Yes. Okay.
Oddly enough, there's like a medical dictionary in there for some reason. Has nothing to do with flying.
I don't know. This is going to be tough. You're going to have to help me out here. Okay. The first one, The Story of Skin Diving, Mask and Flippers by Lloyd Bridges, as told to Bill Barra. Oh, I thought it was a Barracuda. Barada. Okay. So Lloyd Bridges, many of you probably have never heard of him, but you probably know his sons, Jeff Bridges or is it just Jeff Bridges?
I think
Does he
it's
have more
just
than one son?
Jeff.
Okay.
Maybe.
Anyway, he did a bunch of skin diving, scuba
Comedy.
diving kind of stuff. What was it called? I always forget the name of the show, but it was a very popular show. Somebody in the chat room will be able to. Oh, it's probably says so on the book. Sea Hunt. That's it. He played Mike Nelson in the popular television series Sea Hunt. Okay,
Oh,
so we have
Bo
that.
Bridges?
Bo Bridges is another one. So I knew there was more than one son, Jeff and Bo. Thank you.
Micah came through. With
Thank you, Micah. Knew I could count on you. Okay, here's another one. Upon Silver Wings, Global Adventure in a Small Plane.
that.
The
Ooh.
daughter's tribute to her mother takes her to the skies. It's an around-the-world journey of love and purpose to raise awareness of the disease that claimed her mom's life. Okay, so
Very
that's
cool.
that one there. If you're watching the video, I'm
Mhm.
showing the cover right now. Okay. Number 3, the candidate is The True Story, Burning Hitler's Black Gold, and by Frank Way and Major Robert Sternfels. And this is a story that relates the attack on the oil refineries at Prosty Romania in 1943. Okay, so we have that, a historic book. We have Logbook, A Pilot's Life by Crocker
I was gonna say it's just
Snow.
it's a logbook.
No, it's not a logbook. It's actually a
Oh.
book. It just kind of looks like a logbook. The way it's the format of the thing is in that rectangular landscape mode
Yes.
instead of the portrait mode, and so it kind of looks like a logbook in the front, and it has a picture of what is that, a B-36? And anyway, let's see, what is it about? It's from the AOPA library. These are all, by the way, old.
What?
Used books from
Used-
used bookstore. That it's kind of
Cool.
Larry's hobby. He likes to, seek out special books from various places. This is my story from the pilot's cockpit of the development of private commercial and military aviation. It begins with the 1910 Harvard Boston Aero Meet when I was a 5-year-old spectator, and continues through World War II and into the jet age. Okay, it's called Logbook because it's built around the record of my 15,000 plus hours as a pilot of 140 different makes and models of airplanes. Okay, so we have that.
Awesome.
And then finally, this is going to be an easy one to figure out. It's called the 747 Freighter. Obviously, that's
So
for
that
me.
one
Or
goes.
Nick.
goes-
I think.
Yes.
That's Nick. Oh, look at that. It's nice. Got all kinds of nice
Ooh,
pictures
pictures.
in here of the 747
That's very
Freighter.
cool.
All right. Is Nick still with us?
Yeah.
Hasn't
Was
said
that
very
his
much.
phone ringing? Was that the
No, that was
engineer?
my phone.
Or his- oh, that was your phone.
That was the
I don't know.
landline.
He's
believe
muted
it or not.
himself, so I don't
Okay.
know.
So we actually still have a landline here in our house for some reason. I'm not
What's
sure
that?
why.
I'm
Yeah,
not familiar with.
But if you ask me, we don't need one. But
Yeah.
that's the way it is. Okay, so obviously this is for Rick, so I'm going to set this off to the side. That's an easy one. So I think the one for Steph would be maybe Upon Silver Wings, Global Adventure in a Small
Mhm.
Plane. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested to read that. Definitely.
Let's see. I think that Nick, because he loves history so much, I think that Burning Hitler's Black Gold would be something he'd be interested in reading. We could maybe hear a Plain Tales episode about that.
Ooh.
So that just leaves Dana and I guess. Not sure. Dana must be a skin diver, a scuba diver, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Is he?
I think he's mentioned.
Yeah,
it.
he is.
No, Is
No,
he?
he is. He has mentioned that. He is an instructor. He said he is a scuba instructor. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Very good, Larry. And I guess this one here, the one that looks like a logbook, is for me. Now, how did I do? I think Larry was in the chat room. Let's see. So we'll see how I did with the assigning of books.
Sorry, Jeff, just chatting with the internet engineer there. Did I miss anything important? Did you work out which one?
Did you miss anything important? Are you kidding me? This is you realize this is the Airline Pilot Guy show, right?
You bet
Larry says-
everything coming out of your mouth is important. And Steph's special.
Larry says 100%. By the way.
Yay! All
Ding,
right.
Ding, ding,
So
ding, ding. Where's the bell? Ding.
here we go. So the one that's for you,
Yeah.
Captain, is Burning Hitler's Black Gold. It's kind of a historical account
Ooh.
of the attack on the oil refineries at Ploesti, Ploesti, Romania in 1943, to cut off Hitler's main source of high octane gasoline for his Luftwaffe.
Well, I never.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds
So-
fascinating.
I'm feeling that there's some kind of a Plain Tales perhaps coming out of this one.
Never know.
And Dana, I believe, is a scuba instructor, so we're going to give him Lloyd Bridges' book. And Upon Silver Wings for Dr. Steph, it's The Adventure in a Small Plane. And Logbook for me. Did you see the one that goes to Rick? Nick?
And
Here you go. It's the 747 Freighter. It's a picture book, no words, so that Rick can actually read it.
Is it a pop-out one? That's excellent.
I thought it was
Thank you
color
for-
by number, right?
Is it really old?
Yes.
So
you
well,
are
that's very apt then.
And I've got this darn paper insulation all over the place.
That's perfect. I'll
Okay,
give you something
great.
to do when the show's over.
Yeah, like I need something to do. Okay. Thank you, Larry. Obviously, I opened up the package improperly. It was my fault. Okay, and then the let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Oh, this is another thing I got in the PO box, and this is from let's see. It says, "Hope your holidays are full of good times, big laughter, warm memories, and gifts that are just what you'd choose. Happy holidays." And this is from Matt Peters. "Thank you for making the time to provide me with an interview last school year. I hope all is well at Acme, at home, and with the podcast. Hope you're having a Merry Christmas." And he sent me a coffee card from
Ooh.
Starbucks. So a
Very
gift
nice.
card. Thank you very much, Matt. I don't know if you're still listening to the podcast or not. He had a school project and he interviewed me. And so hopefully he did well with his project. Okay, so that was nice. And
Surprise.
and then another surprise. I came home from, and this is kind of sort of related to what we're going to do next, which is of course the coffee fund. But before I start playing that, I wanted to. So I came back from my trip. I ended up picking up from the last podcast to this one. I ended up picking up a trip on the 28th through the 30th, and it was exactly the kind of trip that I hate. Flying at night. Almost every leg of the trip was at night. And not only that, if you looked at the weather map, like severe weather anywhere in the country, everywhere that I was going is pretty much where all the weather was. So that was not a lot of fun. I hated it. And actually, I tried not to accept the trip, but it was a double pay trip. It was a green slip. And I looked at it and I went, there is no way I'm going to fly that thing. No way. So I thought, I'm just not going to acknowledge that they're trying to assign it to me. And so 10 minutes later usually is the cutoff, and then they'll move on to somebody else. I looked, my name was still on the trip. I went, okay. I looked at the trip again and went, no way. I'm not doing that. That's absolutely the worst kind of trip that I could fly. So I went on, did some other things on the computer, went back 15 minutes later. My name's still on it. Oh, I looked at the trip again. No, I'm not doing it. Went and did some more stuff, and I'm thinking, but it is a green slip. It's a 3-day double pay trip. And 20 minutes later, came back, looked at it again. My name is still on it. And I'm thinking, okay, I think God is trying to tell me that I'm supposed to take this trip. And so I went ahead and acknowledged that they were assigning me the trip, and that was it. So I came back from this grueling late night weather laden trip, and I thought, it's very late. I'm very tired. I would love to have a beer, but I don't think there's any beer in the refrigerator. And I thought, it's just too late. I'm not going to even worry about it. I'm just going to go home, drink some water, and go to bed. I opened up the refrigerator door to take out a can of sparkling water, and this is what I found in the refrigerator. Now, if you're watching the video, you can see that there's like this little Post-it note on top of a 6-pack of beer, and it says, Coffee Fund. And I looked at that and I thought, by the way, it's a 6-pack of my favorite beer, High Lie IPA. And I thought, Coffee Fund? What? What does that mean? Why do they have that on there? Did that somehow accidentally get stuck to the beer? I mean, who in the house knows anything about the Coffee Fund? Well, it turns out that a very, very good friend of my son, when he went to Holy Spirit upper school and lower school, guy's name is John Kiernan Lewis, but we know him as JP. I don't know if, John, are you going by something else now, more formal? He's in college. Anyway, or maybe he's graduated from college. I don't know. My son should have graduated, but anyway. So I thought, I bet it's JP because I've heard that he listens to the show sometimes. And so I went ahead and just made the assumption that this was for me. So I opened up a beer and I was very, very happy. And I asked my son the next morning, I said, son, did JP, visit you? the last couple days? He goes, yep. And I said, that beer in the refrigerator downstairs, that's for me? He goes, yeah, for both of us. I went, oh, okay, good. Didn't drink all of it. So this actually is not the real six-pack that he left, though. I went earlier today to Total Wine and bought another six-pack because that sucker is gone.
I was going to say, that was a
decided
pretty
I
good
took care
trick
of
if
it.
you
I love
drank one of the beers and then you somehow replaced the can into the...
It's all for
Yeah.
props, and then I
Okay.
can drink it after the show. Not the whole thing, of course.
Excellent.
Anyway,
Well, very thoughtful. Very nice
yeah.
gift.
So JP, man, thank you. Chris said that he had asked if I had a new show out. He said because he needed something to listen to driving back to Jacksonville. And I said, yes, as a matter of fact, it was just released late Thursday night. So, all right. So there you have it. There's
And JP, do me a favor, get your backside over to the Omni Shore Hotel in Washington, will you? I need some beer as well.
you heard it, JP. Get over there. Turn the car around. And head over to DC. I did not mean to play that Java Jive music there. Sorry. But as long as we're doing it, here we go. I love coffee. I love tea. I love the Java Jive and it loves me. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup. Boy, I love Java, sweet and hot. Whoops, Mr. Moto, I'm a coffee pot. Okay, that's enough. We'll let them sing in the background while we talk about those fine folks who have donated to the Coffee Fund. We call them our Coffee Fund cadre. And since the last episode, we have, let me see, where do I start here? I think Steve Trumbull, Nico Rager, and Adam Seidel. And they use the Coffee Fund Classic method. Thank you very much for that. And also, we have some activity over there at Patreon. Let's see. We have Trevor Bair, B-A-I-R, Larry. Thank you, Larry, for the books and now your new pledge as a patron of the show. And let's see. Christopher Klimek, or Klimek, K-L-I-M-E-K, is in the one of the upper level tiers. So thank you very much, Christopher, for that. And thank you, everyone, for your contributions to the fund over time. We do appreciate it, and it helps us keep this thing going. And thank you, you karaoke singers, you, for serenading us to the Java Jive.
Stand by for news.
All right, we'll start with an update on the little scuffle on Korean Air where the 80s pop star Richard Marx, kind of had to lend a hand to kind of help subdue a passenger. And there was he was kind of criticizing the airline for them not using appropriate tactics to take care of this passenger. And one of the things which kind of got our attention was the fact that they didn't use or didn't know how to use their taser guns. And you'll remember that we all went, huh? Tasers? So apparently, in response to this criticism, Korean Airlines said it will allow crew members to readily use stun guns to manage in-flight disturbances after coming in for criticism from U.S. singer Richard Marx. The South Korean carrier also said on Tuesday it will beef up security training of crew members. And let's see, I'm going to scroll the article down here a little bit more. Nope, that's it. Okay. They said that we have decided to improve our conditions and procedure on using taser guns to cope with violent acts and disturbances on board in a fast and efficient manner. I guess basically they were kind of hesitant to use the tasers because apparently they were trained that the only time that they should really use them is like if it's a grave situation, like like the last
Well,
resort.
I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, we're not talking about law enforcement people here. We're talking about flight crews and flight attendants and staff. So, and they're talking about increasing training and whatnot. But I think the thing that really got all of our attention wasn't the fact that they were having trouble subduing this guy. It was the fact that they actually have tasers and stun guns available to use if they so choose to. I don't know if just allowing everyone to readily use them is a great idea or suggestion or coping mechanism. So.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many airlines around the world actually have these on board. I mean, I was very surprised because when you think about it, if that's on board, that's like having not quite like having a pistol on board, but
no,
it's something that if in the wrong if in the wrong hands could lead to a big serious situation.
And they do cause some injury. It's not like they're completely injury free. It's not that you tase someone or stun someone and they just are incapacitated and then are fine afterwards. They can cause burn marks on skin and all kinds of, minor injuries. But I mean, if it is a grave situation, perhaps you want something like that. But it just seems kind of strange to have to resort to those measures on an airplane.
Yeah, for someone with an underlying health problem, they can be fatal.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I've never heard of an airline actually eating them or having them available to their crew. So that's a new one on me, and I'm a wee bit surprised. But there you go.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. That's why I thought I'd include it in the news section, because I'm thinking, not really sure that was what we took away from this whole thing to begin with.
No.
That, okay, they're criticizing us for not using the tasers.
No.
No, we're criticizing you for having the damn tasers on board in there. Excuse me. Darn.
And also for using something as inefficient as a sort of train. I mean, there are much more efficient ways of doing that, easier to apply and more secure and safer for the person being restrained. So I find it hard to believe they've actually just given them a long bit of rope. What are they supposed to do?
There's a lasso,
lasso the bloke.
Yeah. Apparently, they're going to have to analyze their security kit to see what they can do to improve it, I guess.
Well, I think it'd be great. I'd like to see some passenger hog tying competitions, and just to see how quick they can turn these guys on their back and get all four legs tied up.
That's the kind of thing Nick likes to watch on the tube, the telly when he's at home. Actually,
it'd be a new reality TV show. I mean, we've done severe disasters, and that's not really reality TV, but all kinds of.
Well, I can't wait to come see my first video so that I can watch it happening for real. I thought that'd be perfect. Isn't that what you guys do when you restrain?
Oh yeah, especially if you're from Texas, Oklahoma, that area of the country. I do the old hog tying thing.
Lovely.
Yeah. Let's see, an update on the Russian military. It's an Illusion 18. Oh, I'm sorry. This is something entirely different. I'm sorry. I thought we were going to be doing an update on the Russian military Illusion, not the Tupolev 154, and apparently I put something else in the news, which was a completely different type of military airplane. So we'll get to that in a second. The update on the Tupolev 154 crash is that there was a couple tweets that I retweeted on the 27th that had apparently or reportedly the last words of the crew on the voice recorder. And let's see, I'll try to make this family friendly. The flaps be which? Captain, we're falling. So the flaps, beep, Captain, we're falling. So they're thinking there must have been something going on with the flaps, or the way the flaps were set, or something that was happening with the flaps of the airplane. And there was also an allusion to the fact that the airplane didn't have enough speed and it basically stalled and crashed, which the flaps would have something to do with. So we'll have to see what happens with that investigation. The thing that I was actually reading here was another incident involving a Russian military plane. This one, an Ilyushin Il-18, and it crash landed somewhere in the middle of Siberia, I think. Let's see, the crash landing. According to the report from the scene, the plane crash landed today at 4:45 local time. I guess that's in the morning. 30 kilometers from Tiksi Airport. The aircraft was carrying out a scheduled flight from Kansk Airfield. The crash landing, this is the thing that got my attention here. The crash landing was caused by a severe gusting side wind, according to preliminary data provided by local authorities. But it crashed out in the middle of nowhere near an airport. And I was just kind of scratching my head. So how would a severe
30 kilometers from the airport?
Yeah, that is a very severe gusting side wind that took it 30 miles away from the airport. So I think there might be a little bit of a problem with maybe the translation of the Russian into English or something. I don't know. But apparently the aircraft came down on plain, snowy excuse me. Plain, snowy land, broke into 3 major parts on impact. Wings and engines also detached during the emergency landing. There was no fire. The distance between Kansk and Tiksi is about 1,250 nautical miles. There's some pictures here in the article of the airplane broken up. Mostly intact. It's not like the pieces are like scattered or anything. The airplane is, but it's broken apart in 3 different major pieces of the fuselage, and people just kind of standing around, and no airport to be seen anywhere, just a lot of snow. So
yeah, there were 16 injuries, but everyone survived, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently.
That's a good thing.
This happened, let's see, on, I'm not sure what day. I don't see a date on this thing, but relatively recently. But I just thought I must be missing something here. I'm not sure I can equate the crash with a severe gusting side wind. So, and the fact that there was no fire or anything too is kind of odd. Last crash scene.
They talk about it being a.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I said they talked about it being a emergency landing or forced landing, but like you said, I don't know why 30 kilometers away from the airfield. So.
Right. And I'm wondering if it had something to do with fuel starvation, possibly. I don't know.
Well, particularly since there was no fire, then that's a good possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess.
Actually, it's interesting that everyone survived. You know, this year has been a particularly good year. Well, I said this year, 2016, the year just passed. It's been a very good year for survival rates in air crashes. I was reading the newspaper today that 2015 and 2014 were both much worse. So 2016 was a very good year for one of the safest years on record for air travel.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a definitely good thing. Okay, moving on. This happened actually before we recorded the last episode on the 26th of December. This was the 23rd of December. And Afrikia, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. AFRIQI.
That sounds about right.
YAH, A320, an Airbus en route, was hijacked to Malta. It was going from Sebha to Tripoli, Libya, with 111 passengers and 7 crew, was at flight level 340, nearing the top of descent into Tripoli when the aircraft did not start the descent, but changed course to Malta due to unlawful interference on board.
Was that Carlos again from...
that's exactly what I was...
He just really wanted to get to Malta.
Exactly. He loves Malta. So, you know, that is all I can say.
Well, you know, Carlos is always looking for a good deal, and apparently he found a good one going from Sebha to Tripoli, and he thought, I'll just, I'll make a fuss and have them take me to Malta instead. The aircraft, let's see, 2 hijackers threatened to blow up the aircraft with hand grenades, according to Malta State Television. One hijacker declared himself to be pro-Gaddafi and that he would release all passengers but not the crew if his unknown demands were accepted. Okay.
I'm going to make demands, but I'm not going to
yeah.
tell you what they are. But if as long as you
Gotta know
accept
what they
them,
are.
I'll let everyone go, except for the
Part of the
crew.
puzzle.
I need the crew. Yeah,
The pilot-
sure.
The pilot had tried to land in Libya, but the hijackers refused his request. The aircraft was forced to land at Malta International Airport, which it did at 11:32 a.m. The aircraft's engines were still running after it was surrounded by the Maltese military. One hijacker was reported to have appeared at the aircraft door waving a large green flag, similar to the Libyan flag under Gaddafi. He then put the flag down and returned inside. Negotiating teams were placed on standby. Maltese military arrived at the airport. Upon landing, at least 25 passengers were released by the hijackers. Negotiations were held. Following the release of all passengers and crew, the hijackers surrendered to the Maltese authorities and were taken into custody. Apparently, the weapons that they said that they were brandishing were not real. They were replicas of grenades or something like that. And the kind of curious or coincidental thing, I thought, or ironic, I guess, maybe is the best way to put it.
It's funny.
On the day of the hijacking, the airport was being used to film scenes for the movie Entebbe, which is about the 1976 hijacking of Air France Flight 305 and Operation Entebbe. Am I pronouncing that right? Entebbe?
I think Entebbe, but
Entebbe?
Yeah, Entebbe.
Which resulted in the release of most of the passengers and the deaths of the hostage takers. Filming was halted due to the hijacking of the Africa Airways Flight 209. So the hijacking film was hijacked. Okay, thank you very much. I'm here all week.
Fact imitates fiction.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yes.
Well, in fact,
Okay.
the Entebbe, I think that story of the Entebbe release of hostages and the way they conducted that was a remarkable story. It'd make a great pay tale, actually.
It would.
Must, make
Yeah.
a note of that because
That
I don't know how
was-
many people know the full story. It was brilliant. Mind you, a movie's being made, so I think most people will know. But
Yeah,
it's
I think you should
interesting
do it.
that should happen the same day. Yeah,
Yeah.
You can get the scoop on the movie, and then we'll all know before the movie actually comes out.
there you go.
Or you could just, oh, never mind. Okay. This is something, Liz and some others sent me, but mostly Liz, probably because the airplane diverted to Vancouver, British Columbia. And this was back in October, so it was quite some time. We really didn't talk about it on the show, but it was a flight from San Francisco to London. It was British Airways, I believe, on an Airbus A380 Super Jumbo, and it was going from San Francisco to London on October 25th. And about 40 minutes after takeoff, while the airliner was over Canada, the crew detected a strong, noxious smell, and at first they thought it was the captain, but it turns out, no, I'm just kidding. But similar to burning plastic, and the flight was diverted to Vancouver. The captain declared an emergency, telling air traffic control the problem was a toxic gas-type fumes. After the aircraft landed safely, all the flight attendants and the 3 pilots were taken to the hospital. The BA later described the incident as an odor event, prompting claims by the...
Is that a proper name for something? Can you actually
I
have
think-
an odor event?
Well, didn't you have an odor event there at the PTUK kitchen? Captain Al was there, I believe.
Captain
Okay.
several. Yes. And the rest of us just suffered through them.
So, prompting claims by the Unite Union that it was downplaying the health risks. The cabin air in most passenger jets is supplied from the compression section of the engine in a process known as bleed air. We've talked about that before. If the seals inside of an engine leak, it is believed that heated oil fumes can enter the air supply, contaminating it with chemicals that some experts believe can cause serious health problems. Of course, that's just one way that you could have a toxic fume event. This writer of this particular article maybe is just jumping to the conclusion it had something to do with the bleed air system. It's still in the news. January 2nd, this is dated, which was yesterday. Let's see. So they released a little bit more information about this. Basically, the airplane was on the ground for quite some time. They did a full investigation trying to figure out what was going on. They couldn't figure out what caused the odd fumes, and they weren't there anymore when they were doing the investigation. And basically, the airplane went back into service, and it was like just one of those mystery things. And so we're learning some more information about this event recently. It said that at least one crew member became so ill that he curled up on the floor and put a blanket over his head. Others displayed bizarre behavior, including stuffing food into their mouths while using oxygen masks and wandering around lost in the cabin. The report was written by the cabin service director, the most senior grade of flight attendant, who was in charge of 22 cabin crew on that flight. Also, there's something, I don't know if this article or another, but I think the captain was also experiencing some issues and was on oxygen as well. And so maybe it's this second article that I have here that I put with the first one.
Yeah, it says
Okay.
the report said 12 crew members showed worrying symptoms, doesn't say what, while 9 staff, including the captain, used emergency oxygen. It also
here.
said crew members had continued to feel ill after leaving the hospital, with one collapsing and vomiting at Heathrow.
Yuck. It said it soon became apparent that more crew were behaving in a non-normal manner, with reports of dizziness, light heads, headaches, nausea, itching red eyes, metallic taste in mouth, floating type feelings, flushed aggression, and most worryingly, forgetfulness and confusion, inability to think straight and converse in a normal manner. Now that is a problem when we're talking about, the pilots flying the airplane, right? So, anyway, it's very, very strange. And I don't think this is the end of this particular incident now that they've, released more information about it. And I'm sure that there's going to be some kind of a lawsuit filed, et cetera. Yeah, scratching my head on this. Have you heard anything about this, Captain Nick?
No, I mean, I've heard here about the original event, but I haven't heard any follow-up of it.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, there is a bit of a history of toxic fumes getting into aircraft, but most have been now almost entirely excluded through modifications in the engine, and it is the oils, the jet engines getting through various bearings and getting into the air conditioning system. What I don't understand is why only the cabin crew were affected, or the pilots may have been as well, but it doesn't appear that there's any passengers affected. So
That is
I
odd.
just find that most bizarre.
Yeah, they don't mention anything about the passengers, really. Just
No.
I mean, they
in
talk
one of
about how the
articles-
passengers were concerned and
Yeah, I think one of the articles I read mentioned, let's see, she said, here I'm looking down, show business publicist Sierra Parks, who was also on the flight, said the crew appeared so panicked that she thought that they were being hijacked, adding, I think that's probably the most terrified I've been in my life. She said some passengers had bloodshot eyes while her chest became incredibly tight and she struggled to stand. She said she had
There you go.
suffered from regular headaches ever since.
Interesting.
So I guess there have been a few passengers that did experience some of the symptoms as well. So,
Okay. It's just that, I mean, I don't know how full the aircraft was. I find it remarkable that the
Yeah.
majority of the crew, unless of course they're moving around a lot, they're breathing a bit heavier because they're usually moving up and down the cabin all the time. So perhaps if there was a problem, they ingested more of it.
yeah, and I think
But
I think most of the occurrences were in the upper deck. So that kind of would make sense if it was something in the air that was kind of, although the air patterns in that airplane, who knows, which way the air is flowing. You can't just make.
If it's anything like the Airbuses that I fly, they have a very large central mixer for all the air, which is then piped and recirculated around the aircraft. So it all ends up in the same basic chamber. I don't know if the 380 has two separate ones, one for each deck, but I doubt it. They probably have the same recirculation chamber. So why only one deck? That does seem a little bit odd. I mean, the same air goes from the engines to the entire aircraft. So
That is odd. The whole thing is strange. So I'm hoping we'll hear more about this, and hopefully they'll figure out exactly what happened here.
I'm sure British Airways are hoping it will go away.
Yeah, they're probably hoping that we won't be talking about it on our show.
Exactly.
Well, sorry. Let's see. Moving on finally to the last thing I have here in the, as far as I know, the news folder, and this is a good story. This is a kind of a feel-good story. A Chinese family consisting of a grandmother, mother, and 3 small children were making holidays in a hotel in Phuket, Thailand. In the evening of December 28th, Grandmom was carrying her 2-year-old grandson in a bottle. When she slipped and fell, the bottle broke. The 2-year-old received a long, deep cut on the index finger of his left hand and bleeded accordingly. Both Mum and Grandmom, just talking Chinese, weren't able to make themselves understood to the hotel staff while asking for medical assistance. Grandmom rushed to the dining room to find help by countrymen able to speak English. The flight crew of Shenzhen Airlines, is that right? Shenzhen Airlines?
I think so.
Sure.
737-800, scheduled to depart at 2:20 the next morning, and in their civilian clothes, had just finished dinner when they observed the woman rushing in about 1900 local and asking for help. They translated to the hotel front desk what had happened and accompanied the woman and hotel staff with medical kits to the hotel room where hotel staff provided first aid to the boy. It appeared that the boy could no longer feel his finger. The pilots decided to take the family to the hospital about 1 hour after the accident. And they arrived at the hospital where the doctors provided first diagnosis indicating that the cut had also damaged nerves. A surgery was needed. However, the hospital did not have the resources to perform such a surgery. Following the diagnosis, at about 2300 local, the pilots, with the agreement by the family, decided to take the family on their flight to Shenzhen. Airline staff prepared the necessary tickets and boarding passes, rebooking the original flights. The hotel packed up all of their belongings, and pilots took them to the airport, while the pilots, hiring a taxi cab, took the family to the airport directly, received their belongings, handed the family's belongings to the family, redressed into their uniforms, and departed their flight 9016, a Boeing 737-800, on schedule, arriving in Shenzhen on schedule at 6:45 in the morning. The family was rushed to a local hospital where the boy underwent surgery. On January 1st, a handwritten 4 pages thank you letter by the grandmother sent to the airline made the event known, indicating that the boy is on his way to full recovery. Following the successful surgery in Shenzhen that lasted 2 hours, the family made it back home to Chengdu on December 31st and immediately sent the letter indicating that they were unable to express their appreciation of the help received in words, yet tried to express their thank you nonetheless. And this is from the Aviation Herald, and there's a photo of the handwritten 4-page letter by the grandmother expressing her deepest thanks for the airline crew that went way above and beyond in taking care of their fellow human beings in this little tragedy. But apparently, the good news is that the boy is going to fully recover, and it's just a great story. I thought it was worth mentioning because we're always talking about such negative stuff.
Yeah, we
People
always need
dying and
more feel-good
making
stories.
mistakes. Yeah,
And
Absolutely. Like
really great for
like drunk pilots, which we seem to have missed.
Oh, do we?
yes, we skipped that even though you
Oh.
teased it, but we'll get back.
Yeah.
Don't want to
okay,
talk
well,
about drunk
we-
pilots. Nobody
definitely-
wants to talk about
You
drunk
tried
pilots.
to end on such a positive note there, but
Yeah.
we're gonna bring it right back down.
I did a quick scan to see if I'd forgotten anything, but yeah, you're right. So I guess we were Steph and I were talking about this before the show, and we were watching some of the video associated with the second incident. But the first incident, many of you, let's see, I think it was Liz and Gustav, and I'm sorry I didn't write it all down, but anyway, many of you sent in links to this particular incident where a Sunwings captain was so that's amazing to me. Calgary police have charged a pilot after he allegedly passed out from intoxication in the cockpit of a plane with 99 passengers and 6 crew members aboard. According to the police, the pilot boarded a Sunwing Airlines 737-800 series in Calgary before 7 a.m. Crews at the gate and on the plane noticed that the pilot was behaving oddly before he became unconscious in the cockpit. That's a good sign. There's something wrong. The pilot has passed out.
Generally.
He is a 37-year-old foreign national from Slovakia in Canada on a work visa. He was taken into custody. And let's see. Miroslav Gronch has been charged with having care and control of an aircraft while impaired and having care and control of an aircraft with a blood alcohol level over 0.08. Now, that's a higher limit than it is here in the U.S., but it gets better. 0.08 was the legal limit. What was his actual level?
It was more than 3 times the legal limit. So not just a little bit more than 0.08.
It was 0.24, I think.
That would be 3 times 0.08.
Yeah, exactly. How do you even stand up with that kind of?
Oh, I've
blood
seen much higher than
alcohol?
that. So
Really?
if you're, yeah, I mean, if people are, alcoholics or drink frequently and heavily, and you can become accustomed to having very high levels of alcohol in your bloodstream.
Wow.
And it will take more to get you to the point of acting like this. We were talking about this somewhere else recently, but it's, yes, we have legal limits set up and defined for, how much alcohol can you have in your system to legally operate a motor vehicle, legally operate, an aircraft, which should be 0 in my opinion. But people can function at different levels or can have different functional levels with the same blood alcohol content, depending on how accustomed they are to drinking alcohol, how their body in particular metabolizes alcohol. And a lot of that has to do with size and body composition, but not always. So it can be, it can be a little misleading sometimes, but 0.24 is pretty high, but I've seen much higher than that with people still standing, walking, talking, and kind of almost making some sense, but no, it's not a good thing.
I'm just a little concerned that he got as far as the flight deck before he acted. And actually it seems to be that the only reason that the police were called was because he passed out, not because people thought he was drunk. I don't know, but for sure, but it just seems a nightmare.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is like they're on layover or if this is like an original. Maybe they're based in Calgary, and the very earliest that anybody could possibly note anything about his behavior was when he was already on the airplane. Now, if it was like a layover, I would think that if you're in a van going from the hotel to the airport, that the crew would, probably know that somebody was under the influence. But
absolutely,
you'd hope so. We were talking about that a little bit before the show started too. Like, how do these people get so far? And
right,
I think we have more to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
But before we do that one, the airline Sunwing said, "Dear customers, we would like to take the opportunity to advise you of an incident that occurred earlier this morning. We can confirm that shortly before 7 a.m. local time, the gate agents, first officer, and crew of Sunwing Flight 595 departing from Calgary and destined for Cancun determined that the captain was unfit to fly and reported this accordingly. The captain was immediately escorted off the aircraft, and the incident is now under investigation with local authorities. We are very appreciative of our crew's diligence in handling this very unfortunate matter in accordance with procedures. We were able to secure a new captain and are pleased to report that our customers are now en route to their destination after experiencing a minimal delay. We are very, very apologetic for any upset that this has caused and would like to assure our customers that safety remains our utmost priority." And finally, Transport Canada said they will conduct their own investigation, and a spokesperson from Transport Canada said, "I fully expect that there will be additional charges." And the bottom line here, quote, he won't be flying anytime soon
Yeah,
or ever.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
And then the next one.
I was just going to say,
Yes.
Jeff, I found it odd that he's been charged with having care and control over an aircraft. Surely it should be careless and out of control of an
That's
aircraft.
true.
Or attempt at care and control.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever got so
Charged
far
with
as
having care and control of an aircraft while in bed. Yeah, anyway.
it's just one of those legalese things, the way it has to be.
Yes. So
Yes.
this one's even better. Well, no, I don't know if it's better, but we at least we
Worse.
have some video. It's worse, yeah. We have some video to watch, and that's your homework assignment. Listening to the show right now, if you'll go to the show notes, which you can find at airlinepilotguide.com, and just click on the episode 253, and then you'll see these links to YouTube. And the first one is where a captain of, let's see, what was the airline here?
CityLink.
CityLink.
Right.
Yes. An Indonesian airline going from Surabaya, Indonesia to Jakarta last Wednesday. The captain shows up, goes through security, and he can barely stand up, and he spills everything out of his bag, and he's just staggering. And I'm thinking, well, surely the security officers there will notice that his behavior is quite odd, and that maybe he is in no condition to pilot an airplane. But after they help him get all his stuff that's been spewed all over the floor, because every time he turns around, more stuff falls out of his bag, and he stumbles out of security and heads to the airplane. So that's number one. Like, what? Why did you let him go to the airplane? And then the second video is some passenger video, cell phone video, of the fact that the passengers noticed this odd behavior and said, you have to do something about this. We're not going to fly on this airplane with the captain in this condition. And so there's some video of the captain in the cockpit, and the passengers and the crew and everybody else is trying to extract him from the cockpit, and he's having none of it. He is quite upset that anybody would have the gall to remove him from the cockpit. But clearly he is really, really in no condition to fly an airplane.
Absolutely.
Says the passengers revolted after they heard him slurring his pre-flight announcements.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's your first clue.
this is a captain speaking.
I mean, we're laughing, but it's really
No, it's not.
so sad. It's I mean, it's
Well,
terrible to watch.
it is for those of us who apply a level of professionalism to our and take our jobs very seriously. I mean, it's almost funny because I can't imagine. I find it very hard to imagine anyone I know and in the airlines that I work with ever doing this sort of thing. So when I do see it, I find it ludicrous. I find it hard to comprehend how someone could allow themselves to get to that state and then pitch up for work.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because of how terrible it is and how, like you said, none of us or anyone that we know would ever do something like this.
I guess if you have so much to drink, is it possible that you are in the state that you don't realize that you're completely sloshed?
Yep.
And there's no way you could possibly.
People do
your
all
job?
kinds of irrational things while intoxicated, including thinking that they are not intoxicated and are perfectly capable of doing whatever it is that they think they should be doing. That happens all of the time.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's your holiday drunk pilot story. And unfortunately, it will not be the last one that we tell you about, but hopefully we'll see less of that in the future. But incredible, that's for sure. All right, time for the best part of the show, your feedback.
Captain. Incoming message.
Hey, I mentioned JP, John Kiernan Lewis, earlier, and he sent me some feedback, or sent us some feedback back in November. And so I thought this would be a perfect time to talk about it. And he sent a link to an article regarding a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, or Binliner, as Captain Nick likes to refer to it, converted to a private jet. He said, a 787 converted into a private plane? Insane. And so we'll include this link in the show notes, but it
I
has
love this. It's
several
beautiful.
beautiful pictures. I mean, it's just a gorgeous, as you would imagine it would be, a nice big wide body airliner with, I don't know who this is for. I
don't know. Someday when
see
I
that
grow
in
up and I'm
our-
a rich doctor, I'm going to purchase one of these.
Oh, I can't wait. We can
Yes.
take this to Oshkosh.
Exactly. Nick, you're going to have to get typed to fly it, though. Sorry.
I wonder why. Wonder why anyone would convert a 777 when they could have had a nice Airbus.
I don't know, and I'm not going to say anything else, but that's what we have there. I'm sure that somebody's done the same thing with
Or onto that, Jeff.
Nick,
They could have had a
you're
nice
breaking
bad
up badly. Try it again, Nick.
You could have had a nice dog.
So Captain Nick says, I'm plugging into Magno.
Oh,
well.
Nick, come back.
We miss you, man.
I'm still
good.
here. I'm still here.
Yeah,
I'm just saying they could have had a nice.
we can't understand you. I'm sorry.
It's funnier every time you try, though. So, by all means.
It's worse every time you try.
No, I know. It's one of those things. Again, so
Yeah. Well, thanks,
Bad.
JP, for sending that in, and we'll have the link to this article in the show notes so you can all see this beautiful interior that they've done here. Very nice. Full bedroom, living room, an area in the back of the airplane for passenger seating, etc. 2 bathrooms, a galley.
and nice bathrooms,
Very
shower
nice
and
bathrooms.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Just as it should be.
Mhm.
All right. I just mentioned Oshkosh, that we're going to be taking this 787 to Oshkosh. Speaking of that, Glenn sent us some audio feedback.
Hello, Captain Jeff, Dr. Steph, Captain Nick, and anyone else who's listening to this podcast in the APG community. It's Glenn here, your fellow APG syndrome sufferer. It's good to see a fellow APG syndrome sufferer, Jennifer. Got a mention today in Rob Marks' Jetwine blog. It was nice to see her. Of course, it's very nice to meet Jennifer at Oshkosh this year, and I hope to see her again next year. And I hope to see more people from Oshkosh next year too. It should be a really good year. See, the Blue Angels are turning up next year, so let's hope we can all make it this next year. And then I hope to see you all there. It should be an epic year. I also see that the New Zealand-built Mosquito has arrived in Seattle too. So I'm hoping that, it would be really, really good if they could get both Mosquitoes, both Jerry Yeagans and the Seattle Seattle Mosquito flying at the same air show. Wouldn't that be quite amazing? I did see the Jerry Yeagans Mosquito last year at Oshkosh and got to meet the man himself. He was a very nice guy. Anyway, Merry Christmas. We didn't hear from you before, and there's no doubt we'll probably have some more feedback before the new year. Anyway, all the best. Clear skies, tailwinds, Kavu to you all. Glenn out.
Thank you, Glenn. And as we said, we're not sure. We haven't firmed up our plans yet for 2017, but we'll for sure be in Pittsburgh in May and possibly Oshkosh in July.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully we can make it.
And big shout out to Jen Niffer, being mentioned on Rob Marks' blog, and she was on their show, Airplane Geeks podcast. I forget which number it was. Maybe she can tell us in the chat room, but you should know anyway. If you're listening to this show, I'm sure you're listening to Airplane Geeks. It's one of the best out there. So anyway, thank you, Glenn, and look forward to meeting you someday. Joseph has a question for us.
Hello there, Captain Nick, Captain Rick, Captain Jeff, and Dr. Steph. I'm Joseph Gorton, who currently resides in the northwest of the UK, about 60 miles north of where Captain Ali is in Manchester, on the edge of the Lake District. I'm currently trying to capitalise to get the money together to begin pilot training in the summertime of 2018, hopefully, and I work in a couple of occupations. One on the oil and gas industry as an industrial radiographer, and the second I work doing the terrestrial version of what Miami Rick does as a truck driver. As Captain Nick will be able to attest to, the UK's ghastly adverts on the radio that keep coming up incessantly has now forced me to listen to the Airline Pilot Guide back-to-back episodes. Even though I've listened to it from the very start, I'm currently up to about episode number 212. But I love the show, and I thank you so much to all of you guys for helping to pass the miles. There are many questions that I'd love to ask, but I'll keep this brief so that somebody else can get a word in edgeways. So firstly, this is to all of you guys, really, but in the other industry that I work as an industrial radiographer, we work with radioactive equipment, which obviously we have to follow strict protocols with regards to how much radiation we can inflict on the general public and how much we can receive for ourselves. So similarly to this, I'm wondering if there is any legislation that you guys have to follow with regards to the altitude exposure that you can inflict on your passengers. I remember listening to Miami Rick over the past few months, and he's obviously done a lot of very high altitude flying. So my thoughts are that if he was taking off on a hot day from an altitude of around about 10,000 feet or somewhere close towards the actual altitude ceiling that the pressurization system can reach, what would the actual protocols be for that takeoff? Because from what I can understand, if the aircraft is already at 10,000 feet above sea level, then the air is already thinner, and 10,000 feet keeps getting mentioned a lot in terms of if on the ETOPS regulations, you have to be able to maintain flight at 10,000 feet. So at that altitude, if it was a hot day and you were heavy, then I'm guessing you'd have to set off without any air conditioning packs engaged. But obviously, if you climb to an altitude of 15,000 feet, then the passengers will have been subjected to 5,000 feet above the threshold that keep getting mentioned. So similarly to the radiation, is there a strict limit as to how long you can go up in the air without any air conditioning packs engaged? Because obviously symptoms such as hypoxia and things are going to come into play. But then obviously it's a short-term solution to reach the required takeoff performance. Second question is again to all of you guys. I'm just wondering, because I've heard you mention before that at altitude there are some very strong tailwinds that you can get into. So if you're flying at your normal cruising max speed, and let's say for some reason you ended up getting out of a strong tailwind at 250 knots, would it be possible that you could, for a very brief moment of time, go supersonic and therefore possibly risk damaging the aircraft or getting into Mach Tuck or Mach Buffet? And would it generate a Foquar event? And the third question goes to the more chronologically advanced captains of the APG crew. I'm just wondering what technology was available for simulators when you went for your original type ratings. I can't imagine there was these fancy LCD moving screens. I can only imagine that there's probably a couple of guys with some sort of a cine film and a projector. And the actual simulator would have been comprised generally of welded steel and possibly a little bit of wood. Anyway, Jeff, I remember that you used to like a good old blast of the air horns from these trucks, so here's my installment. And hopefully the residents of Lancaster aren't now going to come and kill me. Thanks ever so much. Bye.
Thanks for tooting the horn there. That was awesome.
Yay.
And,
Love it.
yeah, hopefully you weren't
Thanks,
arrested.
Joseph. And if you were, just tell them it's part of the APG syndrome.
Yeah, it was worth
You have a
it.
condition, dear.
Yeah. Yes, you suffer from the syndrome.
Yes.
Okay, let's tackle. Oh, looks like Nick is gone. Well,
Conveniently.
oh yeah, so he doesn't have to answer this question. Oh no, he's back.
Yes.
Pressurization, and I'm gathering that he was he asking about how pressurization works when you take off from a high altitude airport,
I
or
think
was
that's what he means. So, you often hear numbers thrown out, aircraft cabin is pressurized to like 8,000 feet or something
Mhm.
along those lines. So what happens if you're taking off above that altitude? Say you're in high mountain somewhere, 9,000 feet.
I've never taken off from an airport that high.
Yeah.
But I would imagine what would happen is that after you started your takeoff roll and the outflow valves on your pressurization system started to close, it would very smoothly pressurize the airplane to a cabin altitude of 5,000, 6,000, whatever the schedule would be at that
Right.
particular actual altitude. So you'd never be the highest you would ever be would be your ambient altitude at that airport.
I'm trying to think it out. The commercial airport at 10,000 feet, does one exist?
I think I think
About 9,000 something was the highest.
there's one over in Peru, I think.
Okay.
Somebody, maybe the chat room can do a quick search for us while we're gabbing about high altitude airports. But I think there was one that's pretty close to 10,000 feet in Peru, South America. But anyway, we'll see what somebody comes up with there. But let's see, the tailwinds question I can definitely address. So that's one of those misunderstandings of, the tailwinds and speed that, I wish Rick were here. He could talk about all the different kind of speeds, indicated, calibrated, ground speed, etc., true airspeed. In fact, I think that that Stephanie can probably enlighten us with this particular answer.
Oh, now? Actually, I was thinking, as I was listening to it, I actually had I was thinking about it in non-aviation terms, because I think sometimes it's hard to imagine what's going on in an environment that you can't see. So we can't see the air around us, so it's hard to know, if there's a strong wind, how does that affect what the airplane's doing? A better example, and I was thinking about this in my past life as a competitive swimmer. So if you were swimming in the ocean and you're swimming, you're kind of body surfing the waves into, from out in the ocean a little ways back to the beach, back to the shore. If you start swimming and you swim along with that wave, the wave's going to pick you up and carry you along with it. You're not swimming any faster, but you are moving faster because of the wave that you're going with. But it doesn't mean that you've actually increased that speed any. And I think that's kind of what you're trying to get with there. So, the speed of the aircraft in terms of that Mach number or the indicated airspeed hasn't increased. So you're not going to get into those problems with and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think you're talking about getting into any of the problems with Mach tuck or any of the other stuff that Joseph mentioned, but your ground speed will be faster because you're being carried in that essentially wave of moving air. But that doesn't have anything to do with what your actual indicated airspeed will be.
Exactly. It's all relative. It's whatever the airplane itself is just sensing the air that's flowing past the fuselage over the wings, and that's the critical speed that we worry about, indicated airspeed, and that's the speed at which we use for stall speeds, the speed of sound, etc. It has nothing to do with how fast you're moving over the ground. So all those things that you were kind of concerned about with a 250 knot wind or whatever, you're moving through that air mass. The air mass is moving really fast, but it's all relative to your actual, speed within the air mass, if that makes any sense.
Right. That's why I think the water analogy is nice, because we can all kind of picture and visualize what it's like to see a wave moving from the ocean onto the shore. And if you were a swimmer getting caught up in that wave, how you would move faster. But even if you were swimming your fastest, that doesn't mean that you technically are swimming any faster. It just means you're moving faster because that wave is carrying you along with it.
Exactly.
Despite your normal swimming speed.
I'm sorry, I missed out a lot of that feedback, Jeff. I just had to read. Was there a bit about radioactive exposure there?
Well, I
Yes,
think
there was.
that was kind of tied in with the altitude question that he had. I think we kind of dealt with he was basically saying, so if you take off from a high altitude airport, and I asked the chat room, what some of the highest altitude airports are, and they said there are several in China that are above 15,000 feet, and I was thinking the highest one that I can recall is one in Peru, which is around 10,000 feet. But basically, we answered it saying that the pressurization system in the airplane, once the airplane is either on their takeoff roll, it depends on the airplane, or airborne, and the automated pressurization controller starts activating, it's going to close those valves and actually slowly, smoothly bring the cabin altitude down to a typical cabin altitude level of 4,000 to 6,000, 7,000 feet, depending on whatever, how the airplane.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Sorry, I think you might have misheard me. Radio.
No, I heard you. I was
Yeah,
getting to
that was
part.
that was part of the question too.
And so now, we had not addressed the radiation aspect of it, and because I was waiting for you to come back and answer this part of the question.
The answer is yes, you do get exposed to relatively high levels of radiation if you repeatedly fly. And typically, if you do polar routes, the levels are higher. Now, those of us who do long-haul aviation in those routes are classified as radiation workers. And our company, I think most companies that do this are required to keep a track of the levels of radiation that the aircraft are exposed to, and then by calculating the number of flights you do in a year and the intensity of radiation that the aircraft are showing when they return through the detectors that are on board, you can calculate what your exposure levels. And it way of recording passengers' repeated exposure. The levels are pretty low. It would be perhaps the equivalent of what an X-ray to do a polar flight, say from London to Tokyo, would be the equivalent of one X-ray. Now, if you are a businessman traveling that route all the time, it might be of concern to you. You might want to look into it. But as regards the airline, when they get crews that fly a particular route and they're continually likely to receive high doses, then they will switch their routes onto ones where the exposure is much less. So it's all to do with solar radiation up at those altitudes. And of course, that tends to be directed by the Earth's magnetic field. So it's more concentrated around the magnetic poles of the Earth. Same sort of radiation that gives rise to the Northern Lights. And so that's basically the answer there. No, if you're a passenger that does routes like that very regularly, and more regularly, obviously, than the crews, then you would probably want to keep a track of them and perhaps ask the airline if they could calculate for you your exposure level, and perhaps give it a break for a while if you feel you're getting too much exposure. But
I'm not aware of any airline that's going to proactively do that for a passenger, correct?
No, that's exactly right.
What about wearing those things that they put on you when you're getting your X-rays done, like a big lead thing?
Oh, like the stuff I wear at work sometimes?
Yeah. So
that's
they can give those passengers a special lead suit.
Well, I think they should just put aluminium caps on their heads. That would probably be the best thing. Tinfoil hats on them. Yeah.
That would help.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
The last thing he mentioned, Captain Nick, and he referred to us as chronologically advanced pilots. I think that's what the term he used. And he's talking about modern simulators of today, with all the fancy, very accurate graphics and motion simulation, etc. What was it like back way back in the old days when you and I
in the dark ages
when we were first flying? He was thinking something like they were constructed of wood and what was the term?
It was just a replica of a Wright Flyer.
There you go.
He was wondering if
Well-
he was talking about like the LCD screens and stuff that you have today, or screens to simulate the outside, and was it just someone
Yeah.
like running by with scenery, paper scenery?
Well,
Yes.
actually, you laugh, but that's exactly what they used to do. Now, the Phantom simulator, the air defense simulator that I was in, was just a cockpit bolted to the floor. It didn't even move. But the ground attack squadrons used to have, this is the same, used to have.
Oh, we're losing you, Nick. Okay, while we wait for Nick's bandwidth to get better, I think, I don't know if he's going to mention this or not, but I can relate something to you regarding somewhat primitive visual systems in simulators. When I was flying the T-37, we had a simulator building with several simulators in it, and the actual visuals that you were getting were on screens in like cathode ray tube kind of
Like TV screens, old school TV screens.
but it wasn't computer generated. It was this huge, and there was a part of the building you could walk into, and it was instead of a horizontal aspect, it was a vertical aspect, but it was actually a model of the terrain and buildings and water towers and like things that you would see if you were flying, miniaturized versions of it. And there was
Scale model, yeah.
Scale model, and they actually had a camera that was mounted on the tip of this thing that would actually move along this thing. And again, it wasn't in a horizontal aspect. It was because you couldn't tell, because the screen inside the simulator, of course, was it looked normal to you. But on if you went to the part of the building where these big scale models were, you could see that they were arranged in a vertical fashion, and the thing would actually kind of skim along, and it would get a little bit higher if you pulled back, and it get a little bit lower if you, and you had to be careful because you could actually damage the mechanism, the camera, by crashing into the ground or whatever. But that's really the way the T-37 visual simulation was done. And,
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, Jeff. I was also going to say that at Christmas time they used to give the guys target runs, and when they came around a hill, there was a little Santa Claus there. It was like 15 stories tall, this huge Santa standing there. And sometimes they get insects on it, and you'd be flying along, and suddenly you go past an ant that was 20 feet tall.
Like Godzilla in there.
Jumbo jet traffic. Nope, never mind. That is a cockroach. Never mind.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how far things have come. But yeah, that brought back great memories. Thank you, Joseph, for that. Great questions. Anything else you guys want to add before we move on?
No,
I think we got all of his questions.
Okay.
There were quite a few.
Yeah. Got 3 for the price of 1. And let's do this week's Plain Tales episode.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. Little Things.
The Danish singer O Land isn't very well known outside of Denmark, but she sang a little pop song that could teach many a pilot a lesson or two, particularly an L-1011 crew who were circling over the Everglades in 1972. Her song, Little Things, starts with the words, "Caught in the little things, to distract from what? We are all wondering what will be there to protect us." Well, as a poem goes, it doesn't exactly scan, but another way to introduce this story would be to invoke the supernatural. As for those who believe in such things, parts of this particular L-1011 carried with them a conduit to the spirits of the departed. Cabin crew claim to have seen apparitions of pilots on their aircraft who vanish before their eyes, leaving them so shaken that they have refused to fly. Now, I've known plenty of pilots who can have that effect, but none that can vanish so quickly, unless, of course, it's their turn to buy the beer. I certainly think I've given you enough clues, so let's just get on with the story. It is well known to many of us as we have studied it in depth, learning the lessons and reminding ourselves of just how easy it is for an experienced and capable crew to lose track of what's important. In addition, as I work on the text for this tale, I note that it was on this very day, the 29th of December in 1972, that our story happened. Eastern Airlines was a major American operator that flew from 1926 until 1991 and was one of the big four domestic airlines created by the Spoils Conferences and was headed by the flying ace Eddie Rickenbacker. It became embroiled in labor disputes and high debts that strained the airline so much, even the leadership of former astronaut Frank Borman couldn't rescue it. However, in the early 70s, things were still going well for them. The company was acquiring Lockheed L-1011 TriStars, aircraft that became known in the Caribbean as El Grandote, the huge one. Eastern called it the Whisper Liner. The company headquarters was in the Rockefeller Plaza in New York, and Eastern had just become the official airline of Walt Disney World. The L-1011 was the pride of the airline's fleet and boasted 8-foot ceilings, subtle cabin lighting, individual temperature controls, music headsets, and living room comfort. Aircraft number 310 was one of a dozen to be delivered in 1972 and was one of the best. It carried very few faults in its tech log and had only been flying for 4 months, 1 week, and 2 days when Captain Bob Loft took command. His second officer and engineer for the flight was Don Repo, an experienced 51-year-old with nearly 16,000 hours. He had gone to bed early to shake off the cold. Joining them on the flight deck was First Officer Bert Stockstill. At 39, he was a former Air Force pilot who had also slept well before spending a couple of hours working on a light aircraft he was building prior to heading for work. Captain Loft himself was a veteran pilot who at 55 ranked the 50th most senior pilot in the company. He had been with Eastern for 32 years and had nearly 30,000 hours of flying experience. The aircraft flew into JFK with only a couple of minor snags, both of which were sorted by the engineers, and the aircraft declared fit to continue on for the night flight to Miami as Eastern 401. There were 163 passengers on board and 13 crew members. Joining the crew on the flight deck was an off-duty technical officer who was returning to Miami after an assignment in New York. The takeoff went well, and the crew were operating in their usual professional manner. After all, Captain Loft had years of experience. First Officer Stockstill was flying the aircraft since it was his turn to take a leg. The aircraft's route wasn't unusual. They routed over the water following Jet Airways 79 from Wilmington west to Barracuda, over West Palm Beach, and then south to Miami. The weather was fine and warm in Florida, with a balmy 76 degrees Fahrenheit to greet the passengers. And Margaret was on stage at the Fontainebleau, and Woody Allen was on at the Deauville. The King Orange Parade was due to take place on New Year's Day, and many of the passengers were looking forward to a wonderful time celebrating the new year of 1973. Ahead of them was a National Airlines DC-10, and they were following their lights south down to Miami. Stockstill dimmed the cockpit lights as they started their descent, and then they heard that the National DC-10 had a problem. They were having difficulties getting their gear down and were requesting an extended pattern so that they would have time to crank the undercarriage into place. The pilot called Miami to explain that they had a hydraulic problem, so he told them, might as well run out the fire trucks. With the emergency vehicles positioned on 9 right, Eastern 401 was lined up with 9 left. Their approach went perfectly normally,
until the engineer ran the checklist. Gear down? He asked. At this point, the pilots looked at the panel lights in front of the first officer that showed green lights for all the main gear, but not the nose wheel. "But," asked Captain Loft, "is the handle in?" "No nose gear," came the first officer's reply. "Well, our tower, this is Eastern 401. It looks like we're gonna have to circle. We don't have our nose gear yet." The tower gave them a climb to 2,000 feet and turned them left, downwind, on a heading that would take them back to the approach path once they'd sorted out the problem. Don, the engineer, asked if he should check the lights. This involved turning on the lights test system that illuminated every warning light on the flight deck. The cockpit lit up like a Christmas tree as they all came on. All, that is, except the nose gear light. With Bert, the first officer, still flying the aircraft, he asked the captain if he could jiggle the light. "I can't get it from here," he replied. Don, the engineer, couldn't reach it either. Indeed, there were 4 of them on the flight deck that night, but only one could get at the light, and that was the guy flying the aircraft. Loft ordered the autopilot to be engaged so that Bert could have a go at the light. He managed to get it out and looked at it, but couldn't see if the filament was intact or not, and then he had a problem trying to get it back into the socket. Captain Loft offered some advice. "Now, push the switch forward. No, you got it sideways." Both pilots were absorbed with trying to get the bulb back in place. For a moment, the captain turned to address his engineer. "Don, get down there and see if the damn nose wheel is down." As he did this, he gently bumped his control yoke. If only he had realized that his actions had just turned a metaphorical egg timer, and that his life had a mere 4 minutes left to run. The engineer left his station and went below to peer through a slot into the nose wheel bay to see if the red indicator light was in place. It wasn't easy to see, and he tried several times. Unbeknown to him, a half-second C-chord chime came from a speaker at his duty station on the flight deck. The C-chord would have told him that the aircraft had deviated 250 feet from the height set on the autopilot control panel. Had the pilots not been absorbed with a conversation about the light assembly and how to get the bulb back in, they might have heard it, but sadly, it went unnoticed. By now, the aircraft was well over the Everglades, an unpopulated area, as devoid of lights as an ocean. The pilots were messing about with a broken light bulb, and both engineers were now below, trying to establish the position of the nose wheel. A fact that the captain realized when he had told engineer Don Repo to get back down there and see if we are lined up with that red line. "That's all we care, screwing around with a 20-cent piece of light equipment, and on this plane?" Tragically, with tasks absorbing all 4 flight deck occupants, nobody was actually monitoring what the aircraft was doing. Previously, the autopilot had been engaged to hold the altitude of 2,000 feet. But that little bump on the control yoke had changed the autopilot system to control wheel steering. In this mode, the autopilot would hold the aircraft in whatever attitude the pilot left it when he released the controls. Having bumped his yoke forward, Captain Loft had unwittingly placed his aircraft in a very gentle descent down towards the swamps below. In addition, an air traffic instruction to turn back towards the airfield would have gently steepened the descent. It only took 4 minutes from that bump of the stick for the flight to end. 10 seconds before impact, the engineer climbed up through the hatch and spotted the altimeter slowly winding down. We did something to the altitude, he asked. What? Was the reply. We're still at 2,000, right? He asked. Loft exclaimed. Hey, what's happening here? 3 seconds later, the aircraft impacted the surface of the Everglades and was destroyed. 94 of the passengers died, but amazingly, 67 survived. 5 of the 10 cabin crew lived, but on the flight deck, all but the engineer Don Repo died. Out on the Everglades that night, Bud and Ray were frog gigging from their airboat. Witnessing the crash, they rushed to rescue the survivors. Despite being burned on his face, arms, and legs from the spilt fuel, Bud Marquis continued to ferry people in and out of the crash site that night and next day. Bud was awarded the Humanitarian Award from the National Air Disaster Foundation and the Airboat Hero Award. The surviving cabin crew were also lauded for their efforts to save their passengers despite their own injuries. The finding of the NTSB were that the flight crew failed to monitor the flight instruments during the final 4 minutes of the flight and to detect an unexpected descent soon enough to prevent impact with the ground. Preoccupation with a malfunction of the nose landing gear position indicating system distracted the crew's attention from the instruments and allowed the descent to go unnoticed. A very sad end to Captain Loft's long career. This crash is particularly well known for 2 reasons. The less laudable one is the widespread belief that the subsequent use of salvage parts from the crash that were incorporated into other aircraft led to spectral and ghostly apparitions being seen on those machines. There are a number of stories concerning the ghostly appearance of the dead captain, many of which are exploited in the books written by John Fuller and later by Rob and Sarah Elder, also by the movies made from those books. Particularly distasteful is the obvious distress that this unwarranted attention caused Captain Loft's widow and his children. The more laudable reason and lasting legacy that this crash left is that it is credited by the FAA as one of the precipitating accidents that led to the development and industry-wide adoption of flight crew resource management philosophies and training. This training undoubtedly increased aviation safety because it has led to crews adopting specific roles, particularly during abnormal procedures, such that one pilot is always monitoring and guiding the aircraft's flight path, whilst other duties are done by the remaining crew members. Something that nowadays we take as read, but a lesson that was written in the blood of others.
Another beautifully told and crafted story from Captain Nick. Of course, these are all real.
Be well familiar with that. Familiar with that story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much so. I flew that amazing airplane, the L-1011, and but had nothing to do with the airplane itself. It all had everything to do with the fact that they broke that cardinal rule of, flying an airplane, aviate, navigate, communicate, and everybody was so focused upon that stupid little light bulb and replacing it that nobody was flying the airplane.
Well, and there was a little bit of, complacency in there too. So everyone just assumed, oh, taken care of, autopilot's got it. Let's figure out. And, I think they thought it was going to be a simple thing to fix and remedy. And then it turned to, it was just that Swiss cheese model that we talk about so often, and things kind of snowballed, and, it takes one thing that you don't expect to happen, and it all comes apart.
Yep. So,
we always sad. I mean, learn from their traffickers learn a few lessons, because the controller had seen the aircraft descend, and he got one
transmission from the transponder showed it at 900 feet, but he didn't say anything. The reason was in those days the transponders sometimes gave erroneous height readouts, so they usually waited for 2 paints before they said something, and because by that time it's too late.
Nowadays, it's not unusual to hear, low altitude alert or whatever. They have very sophisticated systems now that, as soon as you go below an altitude that they consider is not safe for that particular corridor or area, they'll mention it to you, which is
Of
Well, and
course,
you think
and
4 minutes sounds like
GWS would prevent that happening
Exactly.
nowadays, plus a range of
the ground proximity warning systems that we have today are much more sophisticated, and we'd be very aware of the fact that we were getting close to the ground.
And 4 minutes sounds like a long time, but you would think someone would
and
notice.
the other thing that slightly disappointed me was the mileage that people have made of the crash with this supernatural link, and the fact that by doing so, obviously they caused a lot of distress to the family involved. But yet they went ahead, and I have no time for these people whatsoever, and I have no belief in the supernatural. Do that's fair enough, but when you upset the surviving members of a family, creating a myth around a crash like this, that kind of upsets me.
Yeah, they're just parts, no soul.
Yeah.
Inanimate objects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's always sad to hear the story, but we did learn a lot from that crash, and unfortunately, some people learned the hard way. But that's the good thing about these crashes, is that those of us who are still here and living can learn from the mistakes of others and keep that from happening to ourselves. So, great story. Thank you. Not story, but great Plain Tales episode. Thank you, Nick. All right. Getting close to the 2-hour point, about 1:46. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1 or 2 more, and then we're going to shut her down for tonight, and then we'll pick it up again on Thursday, if that's all right with you.
Fine by me.
Okay. Matt had a question about MD-80s. He says, I saw an interesting video that appears to depict a mad dog with reverse thrust engaged while in the air. This happens after an initial touchdown and a slight bounce. Is this likely a case of the pilot not realizing he had bounced and engaging prematurely? That's what she said. Is there, he put that, I didn't. Is there any type of system for reverse lockout linked to a squat switch on the Mad Dog? What about other types flown? Thanks. Well, I think that is the case with several airliners out there, Matt, but not the case with the mighty Mad Dog. If we wanted to, it's prohibited, but if we wanted to extend the speed brakes in flight, we can. It's not a good idea to do it, and we don't optimally want to extend speed brakes, especially the clamshell type of speed brakes, when we're
Speed
still
brakes,
in the air.
reverse
I'm sorry, reversers.
Okay.
Reversers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So in this case, they touched down, probably didn't realize that the thing was going to bounce, and they'd already kind of made the motion to extend the reverse thrust, and they were just along for the ride after that. Probably a very bumpy one too. The YouTube video link will be in the show notes if you want to see it. Nick, do they have some kind of a lockout, like a squat switch on the struts or anything to prevent reverse thrust from use, only except for on the ground? On the 340 or 330? Is he there? No.
Nick.
Okay.
I don't know. His picture's still up, but
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
not getting any audio right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like he's muted either. So
No.
I'm trying to recall the systems on other airplanes that I've flown, and I just don't remember that fact at this point. So wish I could give you a better answer, Matt. But for most airplanes, I think that there are a couple airplanes out there that you could actually use reverse thrust in flight. And we've talked about this before on earlier shows where it's just, while possible, it's just not very comfortable. And it feels like the airplane is just shaking apart. DC-8 is one of those airplanes that I know of right offhand that they were even allowed to use reverse thrust in flight. But I've talked to some people that flew the airplane and they said, you don't ever want to do that because it just really feels bad. The airplane just shakes violently. Yeah. So good question. We'll have the link to that YouTube video in the show notes. Matt? Ross from England said, regarding the news discussion about the sad crash from the malfunctioning INR unit, I can imagine that the influence of being close to the ground without visual reference escalates the feeling of urgency to act really quickly. So my question is, do commercial airlines train for a navigation equipment failure at low altitude in VFR like this? So if we're talking about the same incident, I think we were talking about that Norwegian CRJ 200, and perhaps we could have done a better job of explaining what we were talking about when we talked about the inertial reference unit. And in this case, that unit not only is used for navigation, but it is also used for a platform for your attitude indication. So you're basically what gyros used to do, the inertial reference units, which do have some of that kind of technology in there, but it's also aided by other acceleration devices, etc., that help you, determine where you are navigationally without using any exterior navigational aid, like a ground-based navigational aid or a space-based, like satellite GPS technology. So inertial reference platforms were basically a platform with this magic inside of it that you told it where it was, you told it that you were going, you weren't moving, and then once you did start moving, it sensed acceleration and was able to tell you where you were, not only horizontally but vertically, and it could also power those instruments that we use. We always say, keep the blue side up, that's the sky, and the black or the brown is the ground. And in this case, that's what happened. The inertial reference unit had nothing to do with navigation. It had all to do with powering the attitude indicator, and the attitude indicator just went haywire. And so they thought the attitude of the airplane was going haywire. Well, it wasn't. And they basically put themselves into a out of control situation. And from that point, they had trouble determining which attitude reference that they were looking at, because they were both showing completely different things, which one was accurate. Had they stopped for a moment, analyzed the situation, saw that the airspeed wasn't changing, altitude wasn't changing on the pedostatic instruments, and they looked at the other indications of attitude, the first officer's attitude indicator and the standby attitude indicator, they would have realized, oh, that must be a problem with the captains. So let's use the other reference unit. And by the way, they weren't low, and in VFR, they were up at 35,000 feet or 33,000 feet. They were up in the 30s. And so that had nothing to do with low altitude or VFR. So I'm not sure that the question really applies to this particular situation. But do we train for a navigation equipment failure at low altitude in VFR? No, because basically if you've made it to an airline, you have plenty of experience flying at lower altitudes and visual flight rules or VMC conditions. So they don't really spend time, except for visual approaches, messing with that kind of thing. Because if your navigation equipment fails at a low altitude, you can just ask air traffic control, because we're always in contact, or almost always in contact with somebody on the radio, and they can see us on radar and give us vectors and that kind of thing. So it's not something that we really train for.
Interesting.
So I think that was just a misunderstanding. So most of the time we talk about INRs or IRUs or INS, we're talking about navigation systems, but in this case, it does a lot more than just navigation.
Gotcha.
Let's see. Not sure I want to get into some of these other questions here because I think they're going to take some time to answer. Maybe just a quick, because Stefan sent in some pretty good questions regarding advanced drug testing as an outcome of the Germanwings crash, new EASA rules. Also, he asks a question about fatigue risk management. Perhaps Rick might be able to help us answer that one. And
quite a few questions in there, actually, or at least a couple questions.
Yeah, absolutely. How about this special thank you from Gavin Archibald in Cape Cod? He said, hello, crew. I know you get a ton of feedback, but I hope this catches your eye, and I will do my best to keep it short. As a longtime listener and pilot, I am the son of an American Airlines retired 33-year pilot, 25-plus year captain, and flight attendant. My private pilot brother and I grew up as airline brats. So I guess his dad was a captain and his mom a flight attendant. That's what I'm assuming from this. That's awesome.
Yeah, although he didn't specify. Could be the other way around,
No,
but
but
I'm
it could
guessing.
be. Yeah, that's true. There you go. There's my old assumptions that aren't necessarily the case. Captain Nick's recent pilot tale. Thank you, Steph, for keeping me honest and straight.
Although it's probably as you said.
Yeah.
That would be the more common. Yeah.
Yeah. Captain Nick's recent pilot tale about high flight struck a bittersweet note with me as my father recently passed away. High flight has a special place in our family, so much so that it was on the back of my father's picture, funeral mass card. I hope you will take a minute and look at my father's obituary and recognize the passing of another airline pilot guy. You will note he flew in the Royal Canadian Air Force, the RCAF, which might be why he was so enamored with the high flight poem. Please share my thanks with Captain Nick and the crew. As I fly my Cessna 182 around Cape Cod and New England, I will do my best to keep the lessons of pilots like my father and yourself at hand. If you wish, you can read my dad's obituary here. So he sent a link to that. And, so my assumption was correct. It was his father, Frederick Archibald, 78, passed away, slipped peacefully away on Friday, October 14th, 2016, with his loving wife, sons, and daughter-in-laws at his side. Fred was born in Oshawa, Ontario, Canada, on August 23rd, 1938, a son of the late Arthur and Jean Archibald, and was the youngest of their 6 children. Fred was a graduate of the Royal Military College in Kingston, Ontario, and was commissioned as a flight lieutenant upon his graduation in 1962. He served as an officer in the Royal Canadian Air Force 409 Squadron, where he flew CF-100 Canuck and CF-101B Voodoo fighter aircraft. When his RCAF commitment was up, Fred was hired by American Airlines and moved to Boston. During his 33-year career with American, Fred flew a diverse array of aircraft, accumulating over 22,000 hours of flight time. It was at American that he met and fell in love with his wife of 49 years, Joni, a flight attendant at the airline. Fred and Joni split the year between Exeter and Phoenix, Arizona, enjoying golf, travel, and the company of their family and friends. And it goes on to talk about some other family members and information about the services, of course, which are over because this is back in October. So, but that's cool. I'm glad that
very nice.
that kind of touched a special spot in your heart. And as always, Captain Nick does such a wonderful job with his plane tales, and that was one of his exceptional ones, I believe. So,
yeah, I agree.
Captain Nick, if you're still hearing us, he's gone now. Not from the earth, but from the broadcast. Gavin Archibald sends his sincere thanks for that plane tales about high flight.
Yeah. And thank you for letting us know about your dad too. Sounds like a great guy.
Another one flies west.
Exactly.
I'm not chuckling about his dad, but I'm chuckling because I just saw this picture. I was scrolling down on the feedback list, and Dylan Dylan sent in a quick piece of feedback and a link, a YouTube video link, and he said, "You thought none of your listeners would notice. You thought we were all just some half-witted people, but not me. You did not fool me. You thought you could just change a few letters in your name and we wouldn't notice, Captain Jeff. It's time that you tell the truth. You are part of the chemtrail conspiracy. All you have to do is take a look at this video evidence." And then he says, incriminating video, skip to the 34-minute mark. And he says, signed, disappointed, Dylan from Sacramento. And I put a little screenshot of this for Dr. Steph and Captain Nick and Rick to see. And
Very funny.
so it shows this guy with white hair and a beard. Actually, he looks more like Captain Nick than he does me. But his name is Jeff Nelson. Not Jeff Nielsen, but Jeff Nelson. He's a former commercial airline pilot. And you'll have to watch the video to see what he has to say about contrails and chemtrails. And unfortunately, you'll be disappointed to hear what he has to say about it. Anyway.
I can see the resemblance there. I think you just, for your testimony here, had to grow a little bit more facial hair. And
do I? Do I have to build? Yeah, I guess you're right. If I just kind of take away that chin hair, that goatee, that does look a lot like me, doesn't it?
It does.
That's what I'm going to be doing after I retire.
I'm with you, Dylan. I think this is suspicious.
So let's don't talk about it anymore. I shouldn't have mentioned it. Oh, darn. Okay, I think that's where we're going to stop.
Alrighty.
And yeah, Captain Nick finally just gave up.
Yeah,
He's probably on his second beer by now.
There was a message with a string of obscenities, and then he says, "I'm sorry, I'm giving up."
Oh well, it was fun while you were here. I wish we could have heard everything that you were expressing clearly, but we couldn't. But we got the gist of it, I think. So again, if you're watching this video, well, it depends on when you're watching this, but we plan on resuming on Thursday, which is 2 days from now.
The 5th of January, 2017.
5th of January, 2017. Thank you. And hopefully we'll have Miami Rick with us.
Hopefully.
That'll be a treat.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. He'll be in Anchorage. And yeah. So I'm going to hit the record button and turn that off. And go over here and turn off this one. And then I'm going to say to our lovely chat room, thank you
guys
putting up with us.
I think at one point they were doing an over-under on how long it would take us to get started. And I don't think anyone came close.
No, but we had every intention, well, we usually do.
We always
getting
do.
Started close to 6, but we were not anticipating the issues that Captain Nick was going to experience. There was some discussion in here when we were talking about, or Captain Nick was doing his plane tales about the Eastern 401 and about, 3-engine airplanes. And, I wholeheartedly disagree with those who were expressing their opinion that, 3-engine airplanes were bad in some way. And
why were they saying? I wasn't looking at the chat room while we were doing plane tales.
Somebody made a comment about, well, that means that there used to be 4, and now there are 3. Well, okay, if you had a 4-engine airplane, you only have 3, then I can see your point. But
that's a problem, yes.
I've flown 4-engine airplanes, the C-141 Starlifter made by Lockheed. I flew 2 3-engine airplanes, one made by Lockheed, the L-1011 TriStar, and the Boeing 727. And not only did I feel that safety was enhanced by having 3 engines in both cases, but I also think that in both of those cases, actually all 3 of those cases, the 141, L-1011, and 727, were also safe airplanes because you had 3 crew members up there, not just 2. So now we live in an age where you mostly have just 2-engine airplanes and only 2 pilots in the cockpit. And I really do think that even though we've made advances in automation technology and that sort of thing, I think that we're not as safe as we used to be with having 3 brains, 3 humans in a cockpit and 3 engines on the airplane. So, will the L-1011 fly on 2? Absolutely. It'll fly on 1. But the 727, we used to do this occasionally in the simulator where we'd simulate losing 2 engines. Basically, you were steering the airplane to the place you wanted to crash. Like, I mean,
you're going to get a little extra time out of this, but you better land now.
Yeah, it depended exactly where you were. You know, if you were in the traffic pattern or whatever, and you were only down to 1 engine, you could usually make it to the runway. We'd actually practice it. And of course, if you were at 30-something thousand feet and
You've got some time.
90 miles away from an airport, there was a good chance if you still had 1 engine running, yeah, for sure you'd make it. So I guess it depends on the situation. But I can tell you this, though, that the Mad Dog basically has the same engines that the 727 was using, although it's a little bit, they're higher rated versions of the a little bit more power. But I know for a fact that the thrust to weight ratio is much, much better on the Mad Dog than it was in the 727, because there were times, and I've mentioned this before, where we'd be taxiing out, and if it was like an inclined taxiway,
Yes.
if you're climbing uphill and you were only on 1 engine or 2 engines, sometimes you'd have to start all 3 to keep the thing going up the hill. Whereas the Mad Dog that I fly now on that same exact taxiway, 1 engine, even at full takeoff weight, is not a problem. So, and also anecdotal evidence from taking off out of LaGuardia. Now, you know, by the time you're actually circled around and flying back over the top of LaGuardia, either heading south to somewhere in Florida or heading over toward Atlanta to the southwest, you're at, you know, at least 10,000 feet or higher. And in the 727, I mean, we'd be lucky if we were at 5,000 feet at that point.
It's a big difference.
It is. It's quite a bit so. Anyway, yeah. So don't be messing with my 3-holer airplanes. I have
Don't diss
special. Yeah, don't diss them, man. Unless you really know what you're talking about, don't even say it. Anyway, yeah, things have really changed over the years, and a lot of people would say, well, Jeff, you're flying, the technology you're flying right now is old and outdated. And yeah, that's true. It's some of the oldest out there. But even that said, it's so much more advanced than the other stuff that I was flying. So anyway.
Yeah.
Could the L-1011 fly on the center engine alone? Again, Sandy, depends on the situation. You know, I mean, it's perfectly capable as long as you have enough altitude and you're close enough to, I mean, it's not like you're going to be at 5,000 feet level with one. Well, maybe it could do that. I don't remember. I don't know what the performance was on that anymore. But anyway, enough talk about that kind of thing. Again, thanks everybody for showing up for the first show of the year. Kind of got off to a rough start. Sorry about that. Hopefully,
would you expect
we have nowhere else but to
more or less of us? Yeah, that's right. It's only uphill from here, we hope.
Yeah, exactly. Hope everybody had a great holiday and a great New Year celebration. I saw some of the reports in various parts of the UK where apparently you all like to really party over there.
What?
Yeah, I saw some amazing pictures of brawls and public drunkenness, and people wearing not a lot of clothing, and a combination of all those things.
Sure. I mean, why just pick one?
No. But anyway, I know that you all listening and watching the show are upstanding citizens and we're not involved in any of that kind of stuff. So
start time on Thursday. What did we say?
1700 Eastern, 22 Z, and 1300 Anchorage time, or whatever that time is called over there. What is that called?
Alaska
time?
I don't know.
I don't know. Rick time.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I'm not really sure exactly what Rick time is. He doesn't.
He doesn't know what that is.
So I'm just basing this on what Rick said. So I'm assuming that he got the time. I should probably make sure that he knew what he was talking about, because he said it would be 1,300 for him in Anchorage, which would be.
It's 4 hours difference.
Is
I
it
think.
4?
Is-
Okay. 13,
well.
14, 15, 16, 17. 4, you said?
Let me.
Just 4?
No, I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe because
Well, that's what it was during the summer.
They don't do day. Oh, wait a minute.
Well, that's what I'm double checking now because
Yeah.
that's what it was in the summer.
Seems like it'd be more than that, but maybe
4
not.
hours.
4. Okay. So
Yep.
13 plus 4 is 17. Yeah, he did it right.
Mhm.
Awesome. Anyway, so if we have people in the UK still with us, my gosh, you need to go to bed.
No, I hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we do,
And,
you're crazy.
If you're
Or
over there
working
on
night
the
shift.
other side of the dateline, I guess it must be pretty early in the morning, right?
It might be afternoon-ish.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I can tell you that too.
Nick says, so sorry I couldn't hang in there. Yeah.
In Sydney, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh,
And
okay.
in
So we did a lunchtime podcast.
in New Zealand, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone, in that part of the world. And I guess I better get upstairs, see if there's anything left. By the way, when Nick was doing his plane tales, right before that, I don't think you heard it because I had my microphone off. Somebody yelled down it was time for dinner. And so I turned my mic off and yelled, I'll be, or go eat without me or whatever. And then I went out and everybody was still dishing up dinner. And I filled up my plate with some stuff and ran back down and said, okay, I'm going to eat this downstairs. So I hope there's something left because it was really good. It was like a steak salad.
Ooh.
And French fries and green beans.
I don't know what I'm going to eat. I'm starving, but I want to work out first. So.
Is your dad there?
No.
So you're on your own?
On my own for food.
Okay. Well.
I know. I've gotten spoiled recently. It's like.
Well,
my beer gets replenished. There's food magically appearing.
Somebody takes care of taco.
Someone takes care of taco. I know.
Yeah. Sorry.
Spoiled. Oh, that's all
well, have a good workout and eat something healthy, which you normally do. And I'll see you on Thursday.
Sometimes. Yeah. Sounds good.
All right. So I'm going to stop the broadcast. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Bye.
Good night.